All right, we are live. Good evening, everyone. You're welcome to today's webinar. If you can see me and you can hear me, please let me know where you're watching from. Say hi, say hello, and let me know where you're watching from. You're all welcome to today's webinar, and I'm very, very convinced that we're going to have a good time together. Okay, good evening, Goodness. Good evening, Jemima. Good evening, Kelly's Empire. So we are just going to introduce ourselves while we are waiting for others to join us. Keep your comments coming. Let's know where you're watching from. And if possible, let's know your expectation. What are your expectations about today's event? So today we are going to be touching down on three major areas: business, finance, and leadership. So let's know which of them you are in for. Are you in for business or leadership or finance? Let's keep our comments coming. Let's keep it coming. Good evening, Kehinde. Good evening, Victor, Demilade. You're all welcome. Winnie, you're watching from Uganda. You're welcome. Victor is watching from Uyo, Akwa Ibom. 1 minute and we are going to start right away. Okay. Let me just quickly inform others that we are live, because the more the merrier, okay? So let's keep our comments coming. What are you in for? Literally from Zambia, you're welcome. Fiki from Lagos, Nigeria. So are you in for business, leadership, or finance? Let me know in the comments and we're going to start right away. So if you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Omobabiri Adeola Oshideko, and I'm the founder of the iconic brand Africa. And by extension, I am the lead trainer at TIBA Academy. So what we do basically at TIBA Academy is learning and development. We help individuals and organizations. Okay, so not organizations now. We help individuals to develop their skills, to become better in their craft, whether you are working towards becoming better in your current profession or you're looking at moving to the next level, okay? Or you're looking at pivoting to another industry entirely. All we do at TIBA Academy is to help people to sharpen their skills so that they can become employable, good at what they do, and become better. Okay, so without any further ado, we are going to dive straight into why we are here today. Like I said, the conversation today is going to be broadening around business, leadership, and finance. So wherever you fall or wherever you find yourself in any of those three, just tag along and that will be interesting. Please, we would like that you engage. We'd like to see your comments. We'd like to see your reactions so that we can be sure we are together. So our first trainer today, I wouldn't want to call him a speaker because this is more of a training session or a teaching session, right? So our first trainer for today is Mr. Oluwole Dada. He's an enterprise level business leader with a track record spanning across manufacturing, FMCG, telecoms, technology-enabled sector. He has experience, and his experience is consistent delivery of growth around profitability and market expansion across complex, multi-country environments underpinned by strong commercial judgment and disciplined execution. So basically, our first trainer today is a renowned business leader, and he has experience across different industries and sectors. Okay, his career include impactful tenure with leading multinationals such as Nestle, Samsung, USC Food, and currently Secure ID, where he has delivered sustained performance improvement, revitalized underperforming portfolios, and expounded distribution footprint across Africa. So we are telling you all of this so that you know that the person who is going to be speaking to you today is not a novice. He is not a JJC in this field. He knows his onions and is very grounded in his industry or in his expertise. So I will just jump to his educational qualification. He has a background in chemical engineering and an MBA in marketing and a professional diploma in marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, UK. He brings structured, insight-driven approach to leadership, complemented by a commitment to continuous learning and thought leadership. Is it a standing ovation now or a sitting ovation? Because I know so many of you are sitting, including me. So with a sitting ovation and a lot of emoji in the comments, let's welcome Mr. Oluwole Dada to the stage. So I'm going to be exiting the stage now, while it will take us in the next 1 hour 30 minutes through how you can become a good business leader, how you can understand the business side of your profession. A lot of us, we are experts in our field and we are very good when it comes to healthcare, IT, manufacturing, and so on and so forth. But when they ask you what is the business side of this profession, you have little or no knowledge about it. And that's what he's going to be doing to today's session. So you are welcome, Mr. Oluwole Dada. Over to you as I exit the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to see if I can share a slide from where I am. Let me know if it's yet to be or it's processing. And I say good evening to everyone, and wherever you are watching from, possibly you are watching from somewhere that you are in the afternoon, I greet everyone, and I count it a great privilege coming across to speak to everyone this evening. I must also express my gratitude to the organizers of this event. Despite my very, very tight schedule, they kept on me, and finally we are here today. Now, I have titled these the top 5%. I am not sure if I will be able to connect with the slide, so I may eventually be looking at my own tablet from where I am. But at the end of the day, I believe you are going to get a whole lot of benefits from this session. So I've captured this, the top 5%, and in your workplace, either you are part of the top 5% now, or you are aspiring to be part of the top 5%, there was something for you in this session. Now, we'll be talking about business skills and leadership skills that separate the few from the whole lot. You enter an organization, and for those who enter organizations as graduate trainees or thereabout, there are many of you that enter. But in the course of time, events, circumstances will be sieving you out. I don't know where you are now, but please understand what I'm saying is not in any way to sound derogatory, but either you are part of those who have been sieved to the top, or you have been sieved below. Wherever you find yourself, you find something in this session that can take you back into the list of those that are considered to move to the top percent. And what happens in every organization is that as you go on, one thing that distinguishes everyone is your results. Enterprise gets you into the room. Economics keep you there. And economics, where we're talking about now, we're talking about results. Returns on investment of the organization. Now, the only thing that can keep the mouth of your opposition quiet is your result. But as we go on in the coming slides, we will realize that it's not enough to have result. you must know how to communicate your results. I've had a popular statement saying, my result will speak for me. Ladies and gentlemen, results don't speak because they don't have mouth. You are the one that will project your result to the people that matter. Not just to anyone, to the people that matter. So, at the base of you getting to become one of the top 5% is delivery of results. And you must be passionate about delivering results. There must be a burning desire in you to deliver extraordinary results. So when everybody is giving 100%, you must go beyond what everybody does to give 110%. Because normal effort will deliver normal results. So if you want outstanding results, you must
Hello, Mr. Luwale, we can't hear you again.
Yes, I think my network went off, but can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
My
All right, you
apologies to
can.
everyone.
No problem, you can continue.
Okay. I remember it seems where I stopped is that you don't need to be in position before you are regarded as a leader. You can be a member of the team and you are always referred to when decisions are to be made. You are always considered. Your thoughts are not ignored. And that is the point you need to get yourself to, a point whereby your points are not discounted, a point whereby your statements are always considered for actions. So, to be part of the top 5%, you must be a man of result, a woman of result. You must be an outstanding performer. So I said everything rises and falls on leadership. However, leadership is measured in outcomes, not intentions. Leadership is measured in outcomes, not intentions. In other words, leadership is measured by your results. And I said there must be a burning desire in you to be a performer. There is a way I put it in our language. You say they tell you that there must be a passion in you, there must be a pepper in your body. I mean, there must be something that arouses you, making you uncomfortable until you deliver results. And so that's why we're here this evening to say you need to deliver results. But like I said earlier on, getting results is not enough. You must also be able to communicate your result to those that matter. Now, the top 5% are not the smartest people in the organization. However, they are people whose judgment changes the numbers. Please, may I request the admin, there was something that was done the other time that made my presentation come on board. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the top 5% are not necessarily the smartest people in the organization, but they are people whose judgment changes the numbers. And 3 questions this session will answer. Why is technical excellence no longer a reliable route to the top? So technical expertise is not enough, because amongst other things we are talking about this evening is how to move from technical expertise to becoming an enterprise leader. What exactly does an enterprise leader that a functional expert does not do? And then what do I need to change on Monday morning? We are returning to the office tomorrow. What do you need to take away from here? And we make a difference when you get back to work tomorrow. Now, I believe from what I have seen that there are some CEOs and founders. I would like to address you first before we go into some other things. And I would like to recommend here the book, How the Mighty Fall by Jim Collins. Despite the fact that CEOs are the ones that determine the trajectory of an organization, we've seen different organizations in the whole world whereby a CEO will come in and things will nosedive. Another CEO will be brought on board and will take the organization out of the situation they found themselves. And so I've intentionally brought this in for the CEOs, for the founders. This book tries to talk about the 5 stages of decline of an organization. You know, organizations don't die suddenly. They die over time. Organizations don't die overnight. They die over time. And so this book analyzed the different stages. Like I said, I will recommend this book for every CEO founder and every intending CEO to review and gain more insight to what in addition to what I may have said here. The first stage is the stage of hubris. Oh, at that point, results are coming in, everything you touch goes well. You know, there's a way that results can breed arrogance. I mean, there's something I always let myself know, irrespective of any result I may have achieved. There is the grace of God that makes it happen. Why? Because there are many people who did the same thing I did, but did not get the result I got. So I have tried to temper every form of thinking that makes it feel, oh, it was my effort that yielded result. And to the glory of God, we've achieved several results in different places that we've worked. But I have never for once allowed that to get into my head. I remember many years ago, I was part of a team brought into UAC Foods to sell a particular product that more or less I would say has been rejected. And I was posted to the southwest part of Nigeria, for those who are watching from outside Nigeria. Now, Nigeria is divided into different regions, but there is a region called the Southwest. Now, this was a region whose highest sales they've had was 400 bags a month. And in my first month, we sold 6,000 bags. Until I left the organization, that result was not broken. Within 6 months, I landed the product in 70 towns and cities of the Southwest. But like I said, I intentionally mentioned this, and possibly I will talk about more as we go on, that having result has a tendency to breed arrogance. And so many times, many CEOs that fall, and did not just suddenly fall, it started by the results they were getting, and they got to a point, they felt, no, my hands had gotten me this. And so that is the stage one. Now, from people have been able to move from stage one, the point of arrogance and hubris, and they move to stage two. And the stage two is undisciplined pursuit of more. They just want to add more projects, different projects, adding it more and more and more. And in the process of that, they add more projects and kill the projects that were doing well. They bring in more products, just getting more things, because the moment you are successful in one, there is a tendency to say, okay, bring more on board. And that leads to stage two. Now, stage two begins to, and between stage two and stage three, it begins to see there are some signs that things are not going well. There are things are looking somehow. And then you begin to deny that there is something wrong. That's the stage of denial of risk and peril. They say, no. I mean, they point certain things to you and say, no, it's not possible. You shake your head, you ignore it, they bring some reports your way, you say no. And then stage four, the grasping for salvation. At this point, you'll be clicking on to everything just to rescue the boat that is sinking. Now, I intentionally brought this in just for those who have businesses, who founded businesses, CEOs who might be in one position or the other, to say, look, caution, results that we have generated could breed arrogance. And if we are not careful, that stage one will lead to stage two will lead to stage three, and stage three will lead to stage four, whereby you will be sticking up to everything for you to get out of the mess. And then stage five, it takes grace to recover from that. So in order to get more about what I've just said, I recommend the book. It's a fantastic book that can show you insight into what may go wrong in future, or possibly what may be going wrong at the moment. And it will let us take the adequate step so as to turn around the tide of events. Now, why is it that technical expertise is no longer enough? I said something in passing. I said you must not only be a performer, you must find a way to communicate your performance. Don't be part of the people that say, my result will speak for me. Your results do not have mouth. Your result requires someone who will communicate what you have delivered. So this is a personal question to everyone, and I'm sure you've seen the screen. If my role was removed tomorrow, what would visibly break first? I mean, this is a question of reflection. If my role was removed tomorrow, so you get to the office tomorrow and they say your role has been taken off, what do you think will be the impact? Is it a process will stall? A cost will rise? Revenue would fall? A decision will not get made? Or possibly something will not even go wrong? That gives you an insight to how important you are in the organization. That is question number one for everyone watching and wherever you are watching from. Now, another reflection. In a sentence, can you say my work moved so by certain percentage? in the last 12 months, and which is what approximately particular, I mean, I am aware some Ugandans are here. Is it shillings or Zambia, kwacha, or dollars or naira in Nigeria, as it may be, or pounds if you are from the United Kingdom. If you are unable to feel this, then you have a visibility problem. And we are talking about how could you stop yourself from being overlooked. If you cannot feel the planks, you have a measurement problem. Now, if you can feel them, but you have not been able to, then you have a visibility problem. Now, where we are talking about is you must be able to communicate what you are doing in absolute terms, because that is what will prevent you from being neglected. I remember many years ago, one of my bosses used to say, I'm always carrying a notepad around because I'm always writing, I'm always documenting. If you want to get yourself to that top that we are talking about, you must be a writer. And you must be able to communicate your activities in measurement terms, in absolute terms, in figurative terms. You must be able to put them down in figures. So, we are talking about what you are going to fix as you get back to work tomorrow. This is one of those things you must be able to fix. I see people write appraisals, and I wonder, you cannot write a statement to communicate what you have done in a whole year. And it's, I mean, let me say this to you. I always say to people in the office space, always write as if you are going to land in court tomorrow. Just imagine if your appraisal is going to be presented in the courtroom. For whatever reason, the case between you and your organization had to find itself in the court. Think about what you have written. Is it able to justify you that you have a case? That is a reflection that you must take back to the office tomorrow. When you document things, document it with a mindset that this may be what may stand for me tomorrow. And if somebody is asking, what have you done? Are you able to put it down in absolute terms? Can the points that you have documented, can it make a case for you? These are things that you need to come out of this session with a mindset to change. So you must be able to say, my work, my activities, move the organization, move the department by particular percentage in the last 12 months, and this is what this amount in dollars, this is what this amount in naira, this is what this amount in shillings. That is what will make you to be considered as part of the top 5%. Now we're saying, are you an expert? In other words, a functional leader, or are you a business leader? Business leaders are those who end up becoming the top 5%. Now, let me say this to you. Whatever department you are working in, you must avoid a situation that you keep yourself within the narrow-minded seat that you have been offered. Now, I've sat in interviews to where an HR head for an organization was to be recruited, and this guy happened to be a compensation and reward manager. And in this case is to be considered for an head of HR. But you know his mistake? While he was doing his compensation and rewards manager, he was not getting involved in what others were doing, despite the fact that they were in the same unit in HR. For those who are in HR, they understand what I'm saying, because you have different units under HR. You have the payroll, you have the compensation and reward, you have possibly the admin and some other 2 or 3 units like that. Now, he was only focused on his own. Those who will become business leaders do not only take into consideration what they are being given, they go beyond their line of duty and get involved in what others are doing. They even ask their colleagues, how are you doing this? Can I be part of it? Because when some other people go on leave, it is even easy for their head to move him to cover up for somebody else, because they realize that he's always been knowing what they do in those units. At the end of the day, this guy could not get this opportunity because it was seen by the group of those who are interviewing him that he only understands the compensation and reward. He does not know any other thing about other units. So if you are going to become a business leader, you must know beyond what you have been offered to do and know other things as well. Now, this is something that will be of interest to you. So you are talking about a mindset of an expert. An expert is always thinking about being right. Meanwhile, a business leader is talking about being effective, is talking about being adopted, is looking beyond what is within, is looking beyond what he has been assigned to do. An expert is always looking at his current task or project. Meanwhile, a business leader is looking beyond the moment. These are changes that I believe every 1 year we go back and review. Am I only taking into consideration what I am doing? Now, you are an head of supply chain. Perhaps you are here and you are the supply chain team lead in your organization. But do you know what is happening in sales? Do you know what is happening in HR? Do you know what is happening in IT? Do you know what is happening in other units? You must not only be interested in your own, you must be interested in others as well. In decision making, an expert wants complete data before moving. A business leader is only looking for sufficient data and analyzing the risk and consequences of alternative decisions. An expert is always looking for the people who understand the work, but the business leader is looking for people who can fund, block, or scale the work. You can see the differences that an enterprise leader is looking beyond his own circle, is extending his sight beyond the moment. An expert is always looking for the cost of solution. A business leader is looking for the cost of the alternative and the value of the outcome. If you check through all this, you will realize that it's beyond the moment, it's beyond the immediate. If an expert is looking for technical elegance, whereby a business leader is looking for a commercial viability at scale, a business leader is always looking for the all round, not only the moment, not only his own, not only his unit, he's considering other units in his assignment. Are you an HR member, team member, or team lead? Are you considering the impact of your decision on other departments? Are you getting involved in how sales is getting things done? Are you getting involved in customer service? Are you getting involved in IT? Just to even take into consideration some of the activities that they do. That is what moves you from being an expert or a functional leader. Another way to call it is an expert or a functional leader. That is what makes you move from being an expert leader or a functional leader to an enterprise leader or a business leader. So an expert is looking for authority of knowledge. Meanwhile, a business leader is looking for authority of trust, track record, and coalition. This is something we'll be talking about in the coming slide. Coalition. You cannot afford to be working alone. You hear people say, I'm a lone ranger. No. Lone rangers have difficulty in scaling heights. Let me make this quote. The workplace is not like the courtroom, where judgments concerning you are made in your presence. More often than not, judgment concerning you are made without your knowledge. In the workplace, you are not always there when judgment concerning you are to be made. Either it's going to be made in your favor or made against you. So it becomes logical or responsible of you to be in good relationship with those who are likely to be in the room. You don't just ignore people, or you think you can run it alone. I mean, the Yoruba place in Nigeria, where I come from, says one person cannot mean a team. You are talking about a team, but you cannot be thinking about you doing it alone. You must always have a mindset of collaboration. Nobody can succeed alone. You always need people. And so if you ignore people, if you don't take people into consideration, you will end up falling apart. And don't forget what I said. By the time decisions are going to be made concerning you, and you are not in the room, and the people who are in the room are saying concerning you, you don't want it, you should not be considered, then you'll be out of the game. So you must have a mindset of collaboration. If there is another thing that must change as you go back to work tomorrow, it's a collaborative mindset. Don't do a standalone person. Don't be a standalone team member. You must find a way in your unit to collaborate with other people. You must find a way, if you are the head of a department, to collaborate with other head of departments. You can't get it done on your own terms alone. It does not happen anywhere. And anyone who tries that will fall by the wayside. So this table has just shown you how an expert or a functional leader thinks and how an enterprise leader thinks. Now, smart people who can bring others along are an expensive luxury. You can see, coming from the last slide that we're talking about, every organization carries a quiet inventory of correct recommendations that were never adopted. I'll tell you the story of Kodak. Today, I mean, if you are, I don't know for other places in Africa if that was Kodak as one of those cameras and so on. I don't know if it was in those countries, but in Nigeria, in the 80s and the 90s, we had Kodak. Now, Kodak is no longer in existence again. And what happened? Do you know, as far back as the 70s, an engineer suggested a digital camera to the organization, but it was ignored. That's why I said every organization carries a quiet inventory of correct recommendation. More often than not, the things that will rescue an organization is coming from somebody in the team. But it's either of two things. Is he being listened to, or does he have the adequate influence to get things done? And I said that inventory sometimes is not an intelligence failure. It could be an influence failure. Now, the part I want to talk about now is the part of influence. But there is the other side of it, which is the side of, yes, there was influence, but it was ignored. So, but I'm not talking too much about the part of being ignored now. I'm talking about the part of being influential in making your recommendation. So you need the buy-in of people. You want to become part of the top 5%, you must be someone who understands the buy-in, who understands how to get the buy-in of your colleagues. Now I keep asking this question every time, sometimes when we have interactive sessions, and you talk about what is your idea of politics in an organization. Let me say this loud and clear. Politics is in every organization. And one of my favorite authors, I hope I won't forget her name. Oh, it seems the name, she wrote a book, and you could check that book online as I speak to you. The title of the book is, If You Don't Do Politics, Politics Will Do You. So if you check that book online, you'll get her name. Now, one of our quotes is that asking if an organization has politics is like asking if water is wet. The question is it positive politics or negative politics? So you must brace up. You want to become part of the top 5%, you must brace up for internal politics in your organization. Now, hear me again. Politics is not bringing somebody down for you to go up. No. Politics is finding a way to advance your cause. I'm talking about influence here. You want to present a matter, you must get the buy-in of all your colleagues who are stakeholders to the same matter. That's politics. So you don't run somebody down and say that's politics. Well, that's negative politics. That could also be called politics. But I don't call it politics. I call it wickedness. I call it evil. There's no other way to call it. By the time you want to run somebody down for you to go up, by the time you sit down somewhere and gossip about others, that is evil. That is wickedness. It has no other name. But if you are talking about politics, it's about finding a way to advance your cause in your organization, finding a way to gain influence for the purpose of advancing your recommendations. And if you are interested, there are 2 other books I will recommend for you, which will be of help to you. I just said one to you now. If you don't do politics, politics will do you. I've forgotten the name of the author, but if you check it online, you'll see the name. Another one is titled It's All Politics by Caitlin Riordan, and with a footnote, Surviving in a World Where Talent and Hard Work Does Not Matter. Caitlin Riordan, who is a professor of management at the University of South Carolina, also wrote the book, The Secret Handshake. That's the title of the second book. I mean, these books will help you and get you more prepared for what you will see in your organization. So as you move on the career ladder, you get to realize that you need influence to advance your cause. And that's why I move it here. There are smart people who can bring others along an expensive luxury. Yes, they are smart, but they don't know how to get the buy-in of their colleagues. They don't know how to get in the buy-in of people who will help them advance their cause in the organization. Every professional creates business value. The question is never whether your function creates value. It is whether anyone outside your function can describe how. It boils down to what we've been talking about. How do you gain the buy-in of your peers? How do you get others in your organization to understand what you are doing and be able to speak on your behalf when you are not there? So you must understand how to get this done. Now, if you look through this slide, you see these are all functions: finance, manufacturing, procurement, HR, operations, legal, IT, marketing, customer service, engineering, and sales. Now, every one of these lands in the same place: cash flow, margin, business risk. All these functions are working together for one currency. But what is your responsibility here? You must note how your organization contributes to this dark box. How does you, as an HR personnel, contribute to the cash flow and the margin of the organization? Which brings us back to where we started from in that first slide, that if you cannot put this together in a statement, then you have a visibility problem. And I remember my friend who is also going to speak to us after my time, Madam Maramide Balogun, also gave a series on visibility. I think she did a master class as well on visibility. Many people have visibility problem in the organization. Nobody knows what they are doing. And it brings me back to this marketing quote. It says, if you have a product, basically it's a marketing quote, but it's going to be useful. He said, if you have a product and you don't advertise it, he said it is like winking to somebody, to a lady in the dark. You are the only one who knows what you are doing. No other person knows. And the same thing happens in an organization. If you are doing so much and nobody knows, then you are like the lady, you are like the man who is winking to a lady in the dark. You are the only one who knows what you are doing. No other person knows. And that is the same problem a lot of people have in organizations. They are only working, and I mean they are working genuinely. But they have the gap connecting how what they are doing is contributing to the organization. So this is something that must be a takeaway for everyone, that how do you put one of these functions together, and how does your function contribute to the margin in the organization? Don't forget that I said you must be a performer. You must deliver result to a point that your result cannot be discounted. I'll give you another example. So some years back, I was, one way or the other, I've always had my transfer into the southwest part of the country. And this particular time, I was working with Nestle Nigeria and was working in the water division. And for those who know Nestle Pure Life, it's a premium water. And the southwest happens to be like, though looks like a place close to Lagos, but in terms of purchasing power, it has a lower purchasing power than Lagos. And from what I gathered as well, just like I told you, that the people who will make recommendations are going to be making recommendations when you are not there. So I was recommended by some senior members that if they are looking for somebody to fix the problem in that place, I should be sent there. And so they sent me there. And so the first season that I was sent there, in the first financial year, 9 months to the end of the year, within 9 months, the story changed. I mean, that the country manager of our business unit was even saying, oh, was it not that same place that they said they cannot make sales, and somebody has gone there now and turned the place around? Now, at the end of the first 9 months, the number of states I was managing, and what some countries call counties, okay, the number of provinces, anyway, the number of states I was managing was increased from 3 to 6. Now, at the end of the first financial year, where I was managing 6 states, my region had the highest growth in the business. Now, I'm saying to you that you must deliver results to a point that cannot be discounted. Nobody can ignore. Okay, can you ignore somebody? Can you ignore a region whose result was the highest in the business? Meanwhile, in previous years, it is either Abuja, which is the seat of the political capital of the country, it is either Abuja or Lagos. Lagos is divided into two, so there's the Lagos mainland and the Lagos island. It's either Abuja or Lagos island that has the highest growth. But this time around, I took it up and I got the highest growth. And the business felt, look, we cannot keep you here. We need to transfer you to Lagos and deliver bigger business. I never wanted to go, but they said to me, do you want to be managing a small region all your life? I said, okay, no problem. So I left. Now, this time that I was moved to Lagos Island, I say with all sense of modesty, that at the end of that year, my region was the only region that grew in the business. It was the year Nigeria was going through recession. You must deliver result to a point that your result cannot be ignored. But you must not stop at delivering result. You must know how to communicate your results. Communicate in writing and communicate verbally. Otherwise, your result will always be explained away and say it was a fluke. I mean, he just got there and then he just got it. Favor, luck just smiled on him. Ignoring the details and activities and the late nights that you have to go through to deliver those results. So you must be a high performer. And don't forget, life will only give to you to the limit of what you are putting into it. You cannot get out of life much more than you are ready to put into it. So this is another slide talking about how you are going to communicate what you do. So the box 1 is talking about what you did. Box 2 is talking about what changed. Box 3 is talking about quantification in naira or dollars or basis point or days. Possibly you shorten the number of days in getting things done. And number 4, how does it impact the business? So this is an example down there. So this is something that should change by the time you get back to work tomorrow. What you did, what changed, what was it worth, quantified, and then what was the impact on the business? So the example I wrote here, I redesigned the vendor onboarding checklist. Supplier qualification fell from 21 days to 9 days. You can see that was talking about it in shortening the number of days from 21 to 9. And then released roughly 6 weeks of stored production capacity per quarter. And then who are the beneficiaries? Manufacturing its delivery commitment, says stop discounting for lateness. You must be able to put your result in a format like this that can be understood by anyone. And don't forget the illustration I gave. In case the case will get to court tomorrow, you are prepared. You are well prepared. So this is something that will distinguish you and make you more visible in your organization. If you have been ignored in time past, you can make a change from today. But the foundation is that you must be a man and woman of results. And if there's nothing to write, what will you put in these boxes? So the foundation of it is having something to write, having something cogent to put on paper. And going forward, you will stop being neglected. Your result will stop being discounted. May I say this to everyone listening to me? Whatsoever happened to you in your career, please take responsibility. That may sound funny, but I'll tell you a story. Many years ago, my mentor said to me, and he said, you must take responsibility for anything that happens to you. Okay? By that time, I was just coming out from one challenging relationship that crashed. And I said to the mentor, I said, sir, I said, my relationship just crashed. And this fellow was one that says she was going away. He said, no. He said, the lady cannot be responsible 100%. There is likely a 2% that, if you have managed well, could change the narrative of the 98% of the other party. It looked a little bit funny. I said, okay. I said, but sir, what about cases of people who suddenly wake up in their office and they sack them? He said, if you are wise enough, you will know that they will sack you and you will have prepared. Now, as funny as that may look, it taught me a great lesson. That everything in my life, I take responsibility. Those who will succeed are those who avoid blaming others for whatever happens to them. You see, we live in a world where everybody blame other people except themselves for whatever happens. They blame their father, blame their mother, blame their parents, blame their bosses, blame their associate. They will never blame themselves. You can imagine somebody who blames his associate and blames his bosses, but he does not see himself as responsible. If you will succeed and become the top 5%, take responsibility for anything that happens to you in life. And I mean, take responsibility. I'm just thinking of sharing this with you. I became an orphan while in my second year in the university. But you know what? I took responsibility. Did I kill my parents? No. But when you take responsibility, it changes the way your mind is working. When you blame other people, your brain goes to rest. But when you take responsibility, you activate your brain to look for a solution to get out of the predicament. So if there's a lesson taken away from here, is take responsibility for anything and everything that happens to you. It sounds funny, but it will help you. It puts your brain to work and gets you out of any situation that you have found yourself. Now let's move ahead. Influence, credibility, and executive presence. I remember a story at this point, also a story said to me by one of my mentors. It happened in a multinational where a man, multinationals have CEOs in different countries. And the particular man that told this story was working with a very, very senior personnel at the top. And he was working in an office where people are made CEOs and sent out to different countries. And he said this man did not become a CEO or got delayed to getting to becoming a CEO for 8 good years. Why? Because of the way he dresses and because of the way he walks. He walks without executive presence. He just walks without taking into consideration of being an executive. Now, this is a senior personnel, senior executive, whose next role was to become a CEO. But it was delayed. And don't forget what I said, that when judgments are going to be made concerning you, you are not going to be there. It's going to be made without your knowledge. So he was possibly not aware of this. And this is one reason where, if there's anything I will let you know, make yourself approachable. People who make themselves non-approachable don't know what they are losing, because you'll be heading for a crash and people will be watching you. Why? You have never created psychological safety around yourself to make people comfortable when they are around you. So, make yourself approachable. This man that I was talking about now, if he made himself approachable, somebody would have called his attention to what he has ignored. So your executive presence, if you are planning to move to the top 5%, you must be concerned about the way you dress. One of the counsel I give to my proteges, assuming you are working in a finance department, and I will ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 10 to 15 years? He will respond to me as a finance director. And I'll say to him, always ask yourself when you leave home in the morning, does a finance director dress like this? You must behave it. You must act it. When you are talking in the office, ask yourself, does the finance director talk like this? If you are in the HR department, you ask yourself, does an HR director dress like this? Does an HR director talk like this? These are things that will get you into the top 5%. You must be credible and you must carry executive presence. So wherever you find yourself, wherever you aspire to, begin to behave like that, begin to think like that, begin to act like that, begin to dress like that. And gradually, you get closer because people are noticing, people are seeing you, and they will discuss you in their meetings. So presence is not performance. It is the accumulated evidence that your judgment can be trusted with consequence. So here we are talking about the executive influence pyramid. So it starts with your credibility at the lowest level. You do what you say. How well can people count on your words? How well can people count on your commitment? The people who will find themselves in the top 5% are those that their words can be counted on. You do what you said at the standard you promised, and you must not be one off. It must be repeatedly. You must be credible. And then you move up the ladder, you must have clarity. You must be able to compress complexity into a decision a business executive can make. Don't forget that I said you must be a writer. You must learn how to write. You know, when we were in the secondary school, what some countries call the year 7 to year 11 or 12 in some countries. Now, they talk about writing skills, comprehension skills. If you miss classes that time, please go back and learn the things that you missed. Because these things are part of what will distinguish you. You must learn how to write. You must learn how to summarize. I remember those days, they write the comprehension, and then they tell us to do a summary of what we have read. Those things are required now as you are heading towards the peak of your career. So you must be credible. You must have the ability to provide clarity. A situation is so complex, but you have been able to simplify it in a one page that can be offered to your CEO or a busy executive. And then coalition. Don't forget I said this earlier on, and it's coming up repeatedly. You must learn to carry people along. Others carry your argument when you are not present. How well can people speak of what you are thinking or doing about? Don't be a lone ranger. It does not pay. Don't. So, you must learn to carry people along. You must have the spirit of coalition. And then you must have courage. This is also one place a lot of people are missing it. Let me also say this at this point. Every problem you encounter has a solution in a book. The problem is we are too lazy to read. Too lazy. Every problem has a solution in a book. But you know one funny thing? You may carry a 268-page book, and all what may be a solution to your problem may be on 1 or 2 pages. But if you don't open that text, you won't see. If you are someone that lacks courage, look for a book that addresses it. Go to a bookstore. A bookstore is like a chemist. You know, at certain times, at every point in my career, there are certain things that are like burdens to me that I need to treat. And I go into a bookshop and I look for a book that addresses it. Not only sometimes, not only one book, there may be times whereby I will buy 2 or 3 books. You want to become part of the top 5%, you must be a reader. And I mean a reader. Like this illustration is what I give people. When you are a reader, it makes you float. You see situations that scare others. By virtue of the knowledge that you have consumed, you float over situations. That's what reading does to you. And caution, please. Reading can also make you proud. Because every other person does not make sense to you, because whatever they are saying, you have encountered it in a book, you just shut them down. Caution. The fact that you're a reader does not mean you should run other people's ideas down. You must be someone who welcomes the ideas of others. And let me say this at this point. Leaders that I have seen, and they are leaders that I have studied their autobiography and they are of great interest to me. I'd like to mention them. Indra Nooyi, great woman, former CEO of PepsiCo. Alan Mulally, great man who turned around, was it GE? I mean, but you can check out his name, Alan Mulally, AlanMullally. I mean, these are great men who got into companies and turned them around. And then there was another woman who joined Xerox and turned it around. Now, these people are people who are welcoming to other people's ideas. And that made them to become great people, and they were able to turn businesses around. So, at this point of talking about courage, I have seen this as an area a lot of people are lacking. If you are not courageous to be able to speak when you get into the room, you say the costly thing early in the room, on the record. If you know you lack courage, please go and look for books that deal with that, and you can turn things around for yourself. And then the last level is the authority level. You get to that point, you are consulted before the decision, not informed after it. Now, look at the right side of the slide. It said technical professionals overinvest in level 1 and assume the rest follows. No, it does not. Level 2 is the writing skill. I said it earlier on. Before, it is a speaking skill. Ability to make things clear is a writing skill. And level 3 is built in corridors and one-to-one, never in meetings itself. You must learn to pull people along. Learn to pull people along. And level 4 is what most careers are actually short for. I mean, that's where, and I'm telling you life experiences, that courage is where a lot of people are missing. And when you don't have that courage, you are not likely to be considered for the top 5%. And level 5 cannot be requested, it is conferred. So this is something that you must take away from here. Number 1 is be credible. And number 2, be able to write things in a way to make it clear. Number 3, pull people along. And number 4, be a man and woman of courage. And then the 5th one becomes conferred on you when all these things have been seen in you by your leaders. Now, you recall I talked about politics. You must understand the political dynamics of your organization. I've had people, proteges, come across and say to me, oh, there's politics in that organization. Yeah, what else are you expecting? Of course, I was not like this. I had an encounter with one of my bosses, and it's good for me to share the story at this point. And so that was when I was to be promoted and taken to the southwest part of Nigeria, like I mentioned earlier on. And this boss of mine called me to his office on the eve of my departure. And he said, Dada, how are you? I said, fine, sir. Sit down. And I sat. And he asked me a funny question. He said, are you ambitious? I was hesitant because I was wondering if this man knows my ambition, possibly he wouldn't ask me this question. But hesitantly, I said, yes. He laughed. He said, but you don't show it. I laughed too in response. I said, sir, because I'm not a show-off. And he laughed harder. He said, then there will be a limit to how far you can go in this organization. Meanwhile, this is Nestle. And this is a boss who had spent like 20 years as at the time he was talking to me. He said, there will be a limit to how far you can go in this organization. He said, until I asked after you from your senior colleagues, I never knew you were doing so much. And that was a conversation that changed me. Some of the books that I recommended to you earlier on, they were books I went to search for. I mean, I did not even get those books in Nigeria. I ordered them from US when I was looking for books that handle politics in an organization. I had to, I could not see anyone around that could deal with the question I was looking for the answers. And don't forget what I said to you, that every question has an answer in a book, but you need to look for it. You need to buy it. I mean, you need to buy wisdom. So that was when I went for those books. For proteges that have visited me at home, and I'm trying to talk to them, I bring out like minimum 20 books that deal with issues in the organization. And they were outcome of that conversation I had with my boss. And he said to me, he said that this feedback I'm giving you is a feedback from the country manager. He said, because when I suggested you to him, he said, that one, can that one do anything? Now, because ordinarily, I used to belong to the school, to the political party that says your work will speak for you. So I felt, oh no, why do I need to go around talking about what I am doing if my work will speak for me? And that changed my trajectory. That changed my understanding. I mean, incidentally, the same man who said, what would that one do, now became my advocate. Now, every week, we were always having meetings with regional sales managers then. And then when it is my turn, feedback to me was that when it is my turn to speak, the man will adjust his chair and he says, I want to listen to analysis. But nobody knew because nobody was saying it concerning me. So you must understand the political dynamics in your organization. And let me add this. Understand where power lies in your organization and don't go against it. You know, some people say, I'm going to fight him. I'm going to fight him. Meanwhile, you don't have the power this individual carries. The fact that you are head of department does not mean you have power in your organization. The fact that you are head of a unit does not mean you have power in your organization. You must understand the power dynamics because we are talking about the top 5%. That top 5% is where politics is toughest. So you must not ignore the power dynamics in your organization. Otherwise, you become a victim. So I was saying, don't go against power in your organization. It will look like holding knife at its edge when you do that. So the power grid, reading the room before you enter it. There are some people of high influence in your organization, but they may be opposed to you. Meet them privately before any meeting. Never ever surprise them in public. That's the convert box. Now, there are some people with high influence and they are supportive to your cause. Arm them with information concerning your cause. And then there are some people who are very influential. They are supportive and senior. They are worthy to become your sponsors. Now, there are 3 A's. I remember this. You need in your organization, in your career. I will soon be rounding off, and but I need to say certain things. You need allies. You need acquaintances. And you need advocates. There are 3 A's you need in your organization. Acquaintances are just there. They just fill in the gap. Allies are people who will stand with you. Advocates are those who will speak for you. You must recognize them. You must identify them. And you must not ignore them. So this grid, the grid on the right-hand side, the orange color, the ash color, and the black color, they are like the most important in this diagram. And I'm spending time on it purposely. Those who are highly influential but opposed to your cause, you must meet them privately before the meeting. Never ever surprise them in public. And then there are some people who are influential and supportive. These ones are like allies. Give them your one-page argument so they can carry it without you. Because like I said, you are most likely not to be there when decisions concerning you are going to be taken. So do you have people who will speak for you? Do you have people who understand what you are doing? These are very critical as you move towards the top 5% in your organization. And then the sponsors. They have high influence, they are supportive, and they are senior. One of these, one sponsor, is worth 20 allies. Protect the relationship. Now, as I run down my presentation, career limiting mistakes, which you must avoid. Avoid remaining functionally focused. I said that in the beginning. Learn what other people are doing. Now, hear me. You hear people say, I have 15 years experience, 20 years experience. But do you know in some cases, those people who are saying they have 20 years experience, what they have is 1 year experience repeated 20 times. They don't have experience in any other thing except what they have been doing for the past 20 years. Don't make yourself that. That's a narrow pit to fall into. You must have that years of experience varied across different departments. You're a finance person, you must ensure you try and work in other departments. Why? Because your desire is to become a chief financial officer or a finance director, depending on the nomenclature your organization is using. And a finance director understands something about everything in his organization, in his department. So you must not be limited by the unit that you are representing. Number 2, poor executive communication. Some people are very poor in the communication. They are very poor in writing. They are very poor in expressing themselves. And don't forget what I said earlier on. If you have identified a problem, go to a bookstore, which is like a chemist, or a pharmacy shop. You go to a pharmacy shop when you say you are having stomach issues, and they give you a medication that addresses the stomach problem. So, if you know you have a communication problem, Enter a bookstore and look for a book that addresses communication, and you become a better person. With commercial awareness, they don't understand the commercial activities in the organization. And then some people, they avoid difficult conversations. That's part of the people who lack courage. Low organizational visibility. I've spoken about that. Failure to influence upward. You must learn how to influence people in your line and those who can speak on your behalf. Limited strategic thinking. Inability to lead change. Micromanagement. If you're an head of department or the head of a unit and you are fond of micromanaging, there's a limit to which you can go far. Why? Because you continue to bog yourself down with what is happening below you, that you are unable to go further, to go forward. So it's something that you need to move out of. Again, if it is a problem, look for a book that addresses that. And neglecting relationship. That's the final one here. You must not neglect relationship, because relationships are what will help you in your days of challenges. Now, I have talked about this in the previous slides. So, functional focus, they only see their own box. Poor communication, they never know what they're asking for. They never know how to present what they are looking for. And then, weak commercial awareness. They only know how to spend the organization's money, but they don't know how to make money back for the organization. Avoiding hard conversations. Problems reach me late and expensive. Okay? They don't have the courage to hold conversations with individuals who may be tough in the organization. You know, there's a statement in the Yoruba part of Nigeria that says, a matter cannot be too heavy that you now need to slice it with a knife. Okay? So no matter how tough, how difficult the conversation is, we will discuss. Okay? I spoke about micromanagement. When you're a micromanager, you are not giving room for your team to grow. You must learn to delegate to people. And then I talked about neglecting relationships. Nobody speaks for them when it matters, because they are lone rangers. They don't relate with people. So you must learn to build relationships. You must build bridges. Don't build walls. You must build bridges and not walls. Now, competencies of future executives, as I begin to close, I'll just run through this. The most important is strategic leadership, and some of it I've mentioned in the previous slides. Commercial acumen, change leadership, data-driven decision-making. You must learn how to gather data before arriving at a conclusion. And you must avoid those who will succeed, senior executives who will succeed, are those who minimize bias in their decision-making, who will rather use data to arrive at the conclusion than their personal bias. So data-driven decision-making, AI literacy. You know, in this age of AI, you must be someone who knows how to use AI. You know, the issue of AI now is not something you can do away with. It's like in the days of, I remember our days in the school, we used to talk about the use of calculator. But, you know, before then, people were always using 4-figure tables. I don't know what they call it in other countries, but that's what we call it in Nigeria, 4-figure tables or statistical tables. That's what we use to solve mathematical problems. But with the advent of calculator, we have to be doing away with that. And what happens now is that there is a divide between a generation who had lived without AI and a generation that is coming to terms with AI. We just need to accommodate it that AI has come to stay and there's nothing we can do about it. Talent development, customer orientation, you must be customer focused wherever you find yourself, because your customers are the ones that will determine the sustainability of your business. You must be resilient, be strong. Tough things will come your way, but you must be strong and resilient. Ethical leadership, digital fluency, innovation, global mindset, and financial literacy. Now, enterprise leadership matrix, like I said, the enterprise leader is the leader of the future. The enterprise leader is the one that a CEO will be chosen amongst. So you see that black box, it says commercial judgment plus organizational reach. Scarce, expensive, and the only contract from which his executives are recruited. So you want to become a CEO, that's the box you need to find yourself. Okay? This is a leadership transition model. So you start from a technical expert, you move to become a team leader, and from there you become a functional leader, from there a business leader, from there an enterprise leader, and from there a chief executive. Now you transition from one to another. So when you are moving from a technical expert to a team leader, you are moving from doing something on your own to doing it through people. Now, when you are moving from becoming team leader to functional leader, you are moving from being a team person to a system person. So you start designing how the capability serves the enterprise. And then you are moving from functional leader to business leader. You are moving from capability to commerce. Stop defending a budget, start owning a margin. You start discovering how margins are being made in your organization. I need to rush through to the end, the executive roadmap, and basically we are talking about the mindset of each of the stages. So the mindset of a technical expert is mastery. A team leader is looking about multiplication. Look at how do you replicate yourself in others. And then the functional leader is thinking about systems. A business leader is thinking about ownership. An enterprise leader is thinking about trade-off. Sometimes you trade off one unit for another because you are thinking from a global perspective. And a chief executive is having a mindset of a steward. Now, these are commitments that I expect everyone to go with from all what we have discussed. Number one, you will describe your work in outcomes, not in activities. Your appraisal must take a different shape after this meeting. You will attach a number to every recommendation you make. In other words, you are looking at how money can be made from every recommendation that you are talking about. I will name the second order effect before I'm asked. What does that mean? A first order effect is that you are just making your suggestion. A second order is, okay, if we don't go this way, this is another way we can go, and this will be the outcome. You can see the mindset. You can see the changes. And then number four, I will pre-sell before I present. That means you get the agreement, the buy-in of your colleagues before you push your case forward. And then I will build work-sponsor relationship deliberately. In your organization, try to look for a sponsor. It's not out of place. And then you will hold the difficult conversation within 48 hours. Get back to the office tomorrow. That person who has been tough to you, engage the individual, engage the lady, engage the man, the gentleman, and have that conversation. Then I will give away one decision a month and defend the outcome. You may be somebody who has always been scared of taking decisions. Take decisions going forward and hold the outcome. Again, everything rises and falls on leadership. However, leadership is not what you know, what you intend, or what you are owed. It is what changed because you were in the room. Ask yourself, what is changing because I am there? The top 5% are not the ones who worked hardest. They are the ones who made themselves impossible to live out of the decision. It's been a great time with you, and I believe you have learned one thing or the other. One more time, I am expressing my gratitude to the organizers of this event for bringing me to share my experience with the people. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We had an amazing time. Thank you for going all out to give value on this session. So, we'd like to know if you have any question so far for Mr. Oluwole. We'll not be able to take a lot of questions, but if you have any question, kindly drop it in the comments. Okay, someone is asking that is it okay and ethical to approach a higher up as a sponsor or advocate? How does it work?
Okay, I give you an
If you want
example.
someone to be
It's
your sponsor.
first you need to be you must be somebody who carries himself well. So I remember in my days in UAC, there's this man, um, senior executive that time, who comes very early, and I come very early. And then one day I knocked at his door, and I reached out to him, and I said, "Sir, I would like you to be my mentor." And he said, "Oh, why not?" And you know, one funny thing going forward since that time, every time I come in, I go and sit in his office, and then he shares stories and events with me of things that have happened in the organization long before I joined. And from there, I became wiser and understood the way things are. And every time I have issues, I reach out to him and ask him opinion about it. So it's not out of place to reach out to someone, but you must have the courage. You must also show that you are not an empty-headed individual. So that is what will give people that latitude to accept you. I also have people who have reached out to me in my organization, and then we discuss from time to time. Yes, they may not have. You must also not be someone who will be reaching out every time, because busy executives do not have that time to be going on and on and on with you. So just be someone that comes across once in a while. And you know one funny thing, you must not be someone who is always wanting to receive. For instance, you may see a book that may be very good for senior executives, and it's a soft copy, and you say, "Sir, I just saw this book and I believe it will be of interest to you," and you share with him. Now, what you are doing is that you are depositing in your emotional bank account with him. You like to read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. He was the one that talked about emotional bank account. Now, so when you do such things, you are depositing in your emotional bank account with him. And the day you will need him, those things that you have done will speak for you. You are not just going there to just take. You are someone who has also given out. So it will be easy for him to be of help to you whenever you need help.
Okay, I hope that answers your question for that person who was asking. Then we have another question which says in an organization where it is difficult to make a mark due to the way the system operates, how can one stand out?
Well, like I said earlier on, take responsibility for anything that happens to you. You can, if you try making a mark and it's not possible, can you please find yourself out of that organization? Um, like they say in our place in Nigeria, your placenta was not buried in that organization. So there's no need to continue to stay there when you know that things are not working for you. Now that doesn't mean
Okay.
that doesn't mean you chicken out, but it is like you have tried and tried and tried. You have tried all means to make things work and it did not work. That means you are not fit for that organization. And then step out.
All right. I hope that is very straightforward and clear. So this is how far we are going to be able to go with Mr. Oluwole Dada. Please follow him on LinkedIn. And I'm not saying you should follow him because he wants a lot of crowd. If you have listened to him very well now, you know that he's not someone that is keen on that. He just wants to deliver value. I'm saying follow him because you're going to learn a lot. How did I come across him? I came across him as a result of one of his posts that I read. I found it so insightful that I had to click on his profile to check, and I saw a lot of other valuable content. So if you really want to grow and you want to learn, instead of scrolling aimlessly or and looking for what is not lost, you can follow him and you're going to get a lot of value from his write-up. He even has some articles that he has a special blog where he puts them. You're going to learn a lot about business growth, visibility, and influence. We want to say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Luwale. Thank you so much for coming on our learning platform today. And I believe everyone who has listened to you today have gotten value. I have gotten a lot of value, especially around politics in organization, around visibility, around collaboration with people. I think you mentioned never be a lone ranger a lot of times. And it is important that everybody take note of that you cannot go far in life if you want to be a lone ranger. You have to collaborate. You have to be in the good book of people. I was teaching in the academy today, and I was telling them that gone are those days that they will tell you that, oh, you don't need anybody, you just need God and all that. God will not come down. You need people to be able to speak for you in rooms that you are not present. Thank you so much, sir. And this is where we're going to be drawing the curtain for your session. I'll remove you from the call now, and we will see you some other time, God's willing. So everyone, what do we say to Mr. Oluwale? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's keep bringing up the thank you in the comment section. So I will remove him from the stage now, like I said, and we are going to be warming up for our next session. So I can also take you away from the studio, Mr. Luwale. Okay, yeah, he has left. So we are going to be warming up for our next session, which is going to be around finance. So if you are a business owner and you do not know your figures, don't go anywhere. You should be in this next session, because I know people are already tired now. We are going to have some 5 minutes to 7 minutes break so that we can come back refreshed, energized for our next session. Like I mentioned to you when we wanted to start, that this webinar is basically around 3 areas: business, leadership, and finance. And leadership is like an intersection between both. So we are talking about how you can be a leader in your business and how you can be a leader with your finances. So this finance we're talking about now, we are not just talking about finance for business owners. We are going to touch down on personal finance. We are going to touch down on business finance as well. Okay. If you are someone that don't know how to manage your finances, your income, your expenditure, this next session is for you. Okay, but before we go, I would like to introduce you to 2 things that we currently do, 2 programs that we currently run at TIBA Academy. I want to believe that we all know that this session was powered by TIBA Academy. Okay, TIBA Academy is a learning and development institute of the iconic brand Africa, TIBA. And what we do basically is we equip people, we equip individuals with the skills and expertise that they need to thrive in their career. Whether you are an entry-level career professional, or you're a freelancer looking for opportunities, or you are trying to pivot from one industry to another, or you are trying to get promotion at work. Like a lot of people are saying, nobody's seeing your work, you're not visible, they're not recognizing your work, they're not even rewarding for the kind of work you do. So we help you, we teach you the skills that you can use to position yourself for opportunities in the career world. That is basically what we do at TIBA. And we have 2 major programs. Okay, we have 2 major programs that we run at TIBA. We have the JRC program, which we call the Job Ready Certification. We've had batch 1, batch 2, cohort 1, cohort 2. Currently, cohort 3 is running. If you are a JRC learner, you are a JRC alumni, I want to see your hand in the comments. I want to see something like, hello, I am an alumni, or something. I just want you to acknowledge. I just want to acknowledge your presence here. So the Job Ready certification that we also call the JRC is a scholarship-based program where we teach skills. Okay, present. Let's keep the present JRC alumni. Let's keep it coming. So we teach 10 skills in this program. We teach 10 skills. We teach content creation and social media management. We teach public speaking and corporate facilitation. We teach business development and sales strategy. We teach AI and AI for productivity and business automation. You heard when Mr. Oluwole said AI has come and it has come to stay, and there is nothing we can do about it. So if you are someone that wants to learn the ropes of AI, you need AI for your job, you need AI for your business, then you should register for that course. Which other course do we have? You all should represent yourself in the comment section. I've talked about content creation and social media management, business development and sales strategy, customer service and relationship management. We have graphics design and branding. We have what else? Personal branding and LinkedIn management. We have 10 courses. I'm going to put the list of those courses in the comment section later. So if it is something you are interested in, we are going to be dropping the link. Cohort 4, registration for cohort 4 is already ongoing. You can register and you will get scholarship on your tuition. You will be required to pay a token acceptance fee, but on the tuition itself, you are going to be getting 100% scholarship. So if anyone have the link, please drop us. Please drop the link for us. Timothy, please help us to drop the link. Victory, please help us to drop the link. Nancy Best, please help us to drop the link for JRC. This cohort is going to be the last one this year. This cohort will be the last one this year. The next cohort will be next year, February. So if you have not taken this, if you have not been part of this JRC program, you should be part of it. Okay, you should be part of it. You should be part of it. JRC cohort 1 done and cohort 2 done and dusted. Cohort 3 is ongoing. And the application for cohort 4 is currently running. Okay, someone should help us to drop the link. Goodness, help us to drop the link for JRC. So that's about that. Later, like I said, I'm going to be dropping the 10 courses that we offer at the JRC. The program is for 2 months. The program is for 2 months, 8 weeks. Goodness, Timothy, the link is in the group, is in TIBA team group. Please pick the link and drop it. So that is that about the JRC program. Program that we have, I'll remove this now. And the next program that we have ongoing at TIBA Academy. Okay. Sorry, 1 minute, please. The next program that we have ongoing at TIBA Academy is the newly launched mini MBA program. So we just launched the new mini MBA program. Goodness, can you drop the link? Goodness, Abet, can you drop the link for JRC program? Please drop the link. Please drop the link. I cannot see the link. Where did you drop it? Can you drop it again? Okay, so the next program, the other program that we actually have 2 programs. We have 2 programs at TIBA Academy. The next one is the newly launched TIBA Mini MBA program. TIBA Mini MBA program is for people who want to learn the ropes of business, finance, leadership, and technology. Okay, so if you are someone that is in business, but you don't understand your finances, or you are someone that is a technical expert and you need to understand the business side of your profession, this mini MBA program is for you. This mini MBA program is for you. You can check our website. You can check our website, academy.theiconicbrandafrica.com. Can someone help us to drop our website? Victory, Lawrence, Nancy Best. Okay, so this TIBA mini MBA program, we have launched it physically, but tomorrow we are going to launch it online. It's a 3-month program. That's 12 weeks. It's actually 14 weeks because the remaining 2 weeks will be used for your capstone project and your project defense. So is, let's say, give and take 14 weeks. So this program is for people who do not want to go through the stress of doing MBA for 1 year. They want to compress the whole thing and they want to finish it within 14 weeks. The program is for you as well. Okay, so this program is going to help you to earn a TIBA mini MBA. You're going to help earn a mini MBA, and our certificates are accredited. They are not mushroom certificate. They are accredited by ACTD USA. ACTD stands for American Council of Training and Development in the US. We are verifiable. You can go online and verify us on ACTD USA platform. So our certificate, or the certificate we're going to be issuing to you, is a genuine one and it's a valid one that you can use to apply for jobs and opportunities across the continent. Okay, so that's that about that. So without delaying us, without keeping on, we're going to invite our next trainer, and she's going to be taking us give you a good way. If you, there is a gift, there's a gift for you. Okay, so join me as I invite our next speaker. Have I had it remove?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm live now.
Add the stage. I need to remove this one. Hello, Aramide, can you hear me? Can you see me? I cannot see you.
Yes, I can. I can see you and I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can see you and I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank
Good
you.
evening and happy Sunday. So I don't have your Bible here, so I would love you to yourself. I will just exit the stage while you do your introduction and go ahead with your presentation. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, TIBA, and the leadership of TIBA for inviting me here. The last session was really powerful. I had there was a lot of learnings, and always with Mr. Oluwole Dada, even whenever we see in person. So in my session is going to be focused on finance basics for non-finance professionals. I will just do a short introduction of myself. My name is Aramide Balogun, and I'm a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. I'm also a Chartered Global Management Accountant. And equally, I have an MBA, Executive MBA with IE Business School. So my career has spanned across multiple markets, multiple regions, multiple continents, across Africa, across the US, and currently I work out of the UK. in my role with Microsoft. Outside of my 9 to 5 job, I also sit on 2 boards as non-executive director, Vast Asset Management and Fairs Delivery Company. And I love to speak about finance leadership, executive visibility, artificial intelligence for finance, and also business strategy. So I will just go right into the presentation. So today we're going to be covering these 5 things. We'll talk about business basics for technical expertise. How do you think like a CEO, not just an employee? We'll talk about some finance basics for non-finance professionals. And then we'll also talk about how we can make better decisions with financial intelligence. And then we'll wrap up with leadership strategies that multiply impact. I don't even know if this is required at this point, given the extensive work that Mr. Oluwole Dada has done in the previous session. So let's just get right into it. How many people believe that finance is everybody's responsibility? I've heard people say things like, I'm not a numbers person. I don't know how to read all these financial statements. I don't know how to read it. Right? Finance is not my business. Some people will just say, my business is just to sell. Let me just meet my targets, right? If you're in HR, let me just hire people. And if you're in marketing, let me just do my marketing campaigns. You guys, let's just run ads on Instagram. Let's have a campaign. Let's give discounts. But something that everybody on listening to me now needs to understand is that whatever your department is, finance impacts it. Like whatever it is you're doing in your department impacts the P&L of the organization, impacts the balance sheets or the cash flow statement. And you don't have to be given like a quota or a target for your role to impact the finances of the organization. For example, if you're in sales, in fact, if you're in sales, you are like the lifeblood of the organization, because it's whatever the organization sells and whatever cash it can collect that it uses to run the rest of the operations of the organization. So, for example, if you're in sales, for every discount you give, right, it's affecting your top line. It's affecting your gross margin. It's affecting your cost of sale. So you are integral to the finances of that organization. If you're in HR, everybody you hire is an additional cost to that organization. So it's important that the people you hire can bring value to the organization. So you might not, your own job might not, they might not give you a target if you're in HR, but everybody you hire is a cost center to the organization, right? And if you're in IT, we are buying equipment. IT will say, okay, let everybody go and buy like an AI product. That AI product is affecting our operational costs. Any IT equipment that we invest in, that money that we've invested in that equipment is money that we could have used elsewhere, right? So it's important that in every decision we're making, we can realize value for the organization. If you are in marketing and you say, let's run an ad, guess what? Every campaign, every ad you run, every like influencer you hire has an impact on your customer acquisition costs. And you need to be able to prove it. Every billboard you place in VI traces back to the P&L, because we should be able to see the value that that billboard is bringing. We should be able to see how that billboard adds up back to our top line, how it realizes income or sales for us. If you're in operations, guess what? If you're in a factory and the machines don't run for 5 days or the generator goes bad, that has an impact on the top line. It has an impact in our balance sheets. It means that we cannot produce. If you're a warehouse manager for example, and inventory is not moving out, that's money that we are tying down as an organization. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that every department has a responsibility. Every function has a line that is traceable either to the P&L, to the balance sheet, or to the cash flow statement. So finance is not just one department's job, it is everybody's job. I always tell people that at the end of the day, all of us have a role to play. If sales is not selling, salaries might be delayed. If HR is not hiring the right people, we may not be able to deliver our numbers, right? So everybody has a role to play. So with that background in mind, let's move on now to business basics, right? For technical expertise. And the idea here is I want you to understand how a business works beyond the product, because it also affects the way you apply yourself in your organization. You know, every business must be able to answer 4 questions. And as we talk about this, I want you to think about the businesses that have died that you know, and the businesses that are succeeding that you know. The first question is, who is the customer? Not who do we think may use this product. Who is the customer? And the customer is not just the person who wants to use the product. It's the customer is the person who can afford to pay for the product. I'm going to use an example of item 7, which many of us know. When item 7 started, I was watching a documentary on YouTube recently about how item 7 started. I think it was Unilorin or University of Ibadan. And it was because it was a student dense area. And when they created their menu, they focused on what students really like quick food that students can eat. And they kept their price points at what the students can pay. So it's not just enough to have an idea. It's when you have an idea, you need to be able to think about whether your ideal customer has the budgets and the ability to pay. At the end of the day, that is what matters most. And the reason why you see businesses dying could be the fact that their ideal customer in their mind does not have the ability to pay. And we all know those kind of businesses. They would say, oh, this business is for middle class people, but no middle class person can afford what you're selling. The second question is, what problem are we trying to solve? When Money Points came into the market, what problem were they trying to solve? I remember that it was during the cashless season, and they started agency banking, and we all were able to just go to a POS stand and withdraw money, right? They brought the cash closer to the people who needed it, and they enabled small businesses even to go cashless, because people could now use the ATM machine and immediately they have all their sales in one place, unlike before, where you will first be calculating how much change am I going to give you. They came with a POS terminal that was fast, that did not require too much. You didn't need power. You could use on the go, and before we knew it, they caught on, right? So you must think about what problem you are solving. A problem such that not solving that problem is costing your customer more than they would have spent, right? And I just explained the Money Point example to you. The problem they were solving was agency banking. They were also, in some sense, helping small businesses properly account for their finances. The third question is, how do we make money? I think this is so important. How do we make money? Some of us will come to finance. I mean, finance, as you can tell, we come to finance with all these lofty ideas. Guys, let's just engage this influencer, let's give a discount, our competitors are giving a discount, you know, how does that make money? That's a question we always have to ask whenever we are bringing forward an idea or a project or something. How do we make money? Because cash is king, and cash is the lifeblood of any organization, and we'll get to that very shortly. So your revenue model can be like an outright sale, it can be a subscription product, it can be a commission, it can be a license. There are many revenue models depending on the business nature of the business. And then the fourth thing, because it's not just enough for us to have a customer that can pay, it's not enough for us to have a problem that we can solve, it's not even enough for us to make money. It's what are the margins? Whatever problem or products, whatever problem we are solving or products we are selling, we must be able to keep something for ourselves, right? We must be able to price that product or that service at a price that even after removing our costs, we can make something. We have something to either distribute or put back into the business to grow the business. So we must think about margins, right? We must think about margins. So think about your last project or an idea that you brought forward to your boss. Maybe, just maybe, the reason why that idea was declined was because it did not answer these 4 questions. And depending on what you do or whatever department you are in, this is how you want to be thinking when you bring a problem, when you bring an idea to your boss, when you bring an idea, even if you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea, this is how you should be thinking. You should be defining who your customer is. You should be identifying what the problem is. And is it a problem that your defined customer, is it painful enough for your defined customer to want to solve? Those are 4 questions that every business must answer per time. So there are entrepreneurs listening to me right now, and they are business people. They are also like employees as well. You have to think beyond just value creation, right? You need to be able to think about how that value can translate. That value you are creating, how can it translate? You can have a nice solution, and we've seen many of such businesses. They come into the markets, they think they've defined their target customers, but unfortunately, their target customers cannot pay or cannot continue paying into the future. There are places you go and there are products you buy that are targeted at you. And then after you buy it once, you're like, I beg, I cannot afford this thing. So it's not enough that your idea solves the problem. Is it better than the alternatives? I'm going to talk about item 7 again. Item 7, even though they were priced slightly higher than the mama puts of this world, but they were better than the alternatives. The food was pre-packed. They had a set menu. When you go there, you already know what they are selling. And, you make your order, you are out of there in a few minutes. So you need to be thinking about how your product or your solution solves a problem that is better than the next alternative out there, right? And then when we talk about value capture, can they pay? Do they have the capacity to pay? And can they pay a cost that is above what we have spent to create that value? And are we able to collect that payment? There are companies that you see, they are doing well. You look at their books, they're doing well. Top line is great, but there's no cash, even though they're solving a problem. there's profits. Their financial statement, their P&L shows that they are a profitable company. But guess what? All that revenue is stuck in receivables, right? They can't collect the money. So at the end of the day, it doesn't add any value to the business. So you should always be thinking, apart from creating value, how can that value translate into value for the business, right? Can we price that service or that product above what it cost us, and still the people that we are selling to, they can pay? Our money is not stuck in AR. Very important. A brilliant solution that nobody pays for is a hobby. It's not a business. So if you're an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs fall into this trap of wanting to price themselves lower than their competitors. You need to be thinking about overall value for your business, because that's what will carry your business into the foreseeable future. We've seen business models, beautiful, brilliant. I don't want to mention any business so that nobody comes to sue me, right? But we've seen businesses, we've seen e-commerce companies who had brilliant solutions, but at the end of the day, the business just died. We've seen lots of restaurants in Lagos, right? Beautiful menu, wonderful everything, but at the end of the day, customers can only buy their product once a month. It's the same people that can come and purchase. And we've seen the same businesses in the same business model who have priced their products in such a way that there is repeat sales and the business can continue to be sustained into the foreseeable future. So this is very important. So what should you remember from this section? The 4 problems that we talked about, the 4 questions that we talked about. Who is your customer? And your customer is not just defined by who has the pain point. Your customer is defined by who has capacity to pay. What is the problem you are solving? How would that problem make you money? And how can you realize value beyond just the sales, that you make? How can you realize value that continues to keep your business running into the foreseeable future? There's the part of value creation and there's the part of value capture. And both are important. We need to create problems that can result into value that people can then pay us for, right? That can result into solution that can then bring value into our organization. So with this, now that you know this, how do you now begin to think differently? Not just as an employee, right? How do you ensure that with this knowledge that you have, how can it translate into bigger decisions for you? How does a CEO think when it comes to finances? That's what we're going to be exploring next. So I would talk about this mindset shifts, thinking about it in three buckets, right? The employee always just focuses on tasks, right? Like I said, you are a salesperson, you are a sales guy. You are just focusing, what do I need to do to make my targets, to meet my targets, right? But you need to be thinking beyond that, beyond just my job. I remember that one of the things that Mr. Oluwole said is that don't just focus on your job. You need to be thinking about holistically, what does the business need? And that's why you will find that some of the employees that excel, they are not just thinking about ticking the box of their job. They are thinking holistically. If you are a salesperson, that means that what products bring the highest value for the organization? Not every product has the same margin contribution. Not every product has the same contribution margin. So beyond just doing the barest minimum to meet your target, what products are going to bring the highest gross margin for the organization? That is where you should be focusing on. Beyond just thinking, let me just do my HR job, you should be thinking, the person I'm hiring, how can we realize the highest value from their skills, right? How can we bring this person in? Who are we looking for, in fact, to help us turn around? So it's not just they've asked me to hire an IT guy, so you just go and hire an IT guy. If you are thinking like an employee, you'll be thinking about holistically the whole company. What does the business need? You will go beyond just reporting the past. You've done your selling, you've brought in the business, but you are seeing that there's a shift in the market. You will highlight it. You will not just say, I met my target last year, moving on. You start thinking, okay, I'm seeing that our competitors are increasing prices. Is there money that we're leaving on the table? How can we target a higher gross margin in the next quarter? What must we do to grow market share? You see that it's very different from just doing your job and focusing on just your own narrow path. It's thinking wide about the business. It's thinking wide, not just about the business, about your own business. If you're an entrepreneur, what next? Oh, the events, the entertainment industry is becoming saturated. What else can we do? How else can we, and that's why you continue to see the innovations that we see in the markets. But that's how you can start thinking. That's how you can start modeling this kind of mindset. When you bring an idea, when you go and talk to your boss, you're not just focused on your own catchment area. You're thinking beyond. What's next? How can we do better? How can we go over what we've done this year? And then making sure that you are setting boundaries, guardrails, putting systems in place, putting controls in place. And that job is not just for our bosses. It's not just for finance, right? Before, there are people that they just come to finance, bring it. Me, I brought the idea. Oh, it's you people that know. Go and check go and focus on me. You say I should bring idea. Well, coming up with clear systems, right? Clear systems so that things can be done systematically, so that knowledge is not in one person's head, so that the rest of your team can follow the processes that you started. That's how CEOs think, because you won't always be there as the leader. You won't always be there. Finance won't always check every single thing you bring, but you put that system in place. And that's how to have an owner's mindset, right? And that's how to think like an owner. The CEO always wears an owner's cap. So in whatever it is that you're doing, think about it as an owner, whether you're in HR, whether you're in finance, whether you are in IT, whether you're in procurement, wear the owner's cap, right? Every time a decision needs to be made, or every time you're thinking about something as it relates to the organization. What would your CEO ask whenever you bring an idea, a new initiative, or whatever? As a finance savvy leader, before you say any yes to anything, and sometimes people say finance, those people just don't like me. Every time I bring something, we need something in my department, they're just like, no, there's no budget. I get that a lot because I'm in finance. People think finance people, they're just haters. They just don't want us to spend money. And some people will say it's not even like it's their father's money. But there are questions that we ask before we say yes to all your ideas. And as a team leader, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, watching this right now, these are questions you should also ask. Does this create real value? Does our company have to have a pop-up? Does our company have to participate in that pop-up? It's a good idea from a marketing point of view. People will know you, people will see your products and whatnot. But think about it. Does it create value for the organization? Do we just want to go and pay 3 million naira for a stand at a pop-up because it's the trendy thing to do? Because you just want to say, this year we had 5 marketing campaigns. Does it create value? And remember, when I'm talking about value, I'm talking about profits, I'm talking about margins, I'm talking about cash. That's how finance people think through decisions. So something might be good for now, but it might not create value. Can we afford it? Not that it's in the budget. People always confuse, but I have a budget for it now, especially non-finance. But I have a budget for it now. It's already in my budget. Is there cash available for it? And then if we don't do that campaign, at the end of the day, the reason why we are saying that we want to do that campaign is to create value, right? If we don't carry out that campaign, what is the cost to us? Like, what will not happen if we don't say yes? It could be that we are almost at year end, we haven't met our numbers, our sales numbers, and someone thinks this campaign is going to be held, this pop-up is going to be in Harbor Point. A lot of people will come in there. People will come in, people with good purchasing power, high purchasing power can come and buy all the res that we have in stock. But what if nobody comes? And what if you have to go and borrow money to even, because you don't have cash, you have to go and borrow money to pay for that pop-up? If you're an entrepreneur here, I think last year there was something that, is it last year or 2 years ago, some vendors came to the UK to come and have a pop-up, and there was a whole lot of noise on social media, and people were asking, why will you carry food items? I think there was one that trended where someone made like hundreds of cakes, and people were like, why would you carry cake to a pop-up in a country where pastries are so cheap to buy? Right? That person could have as well thought of running ads instead of coming to spend that much on a pop-up, because eventually that was what they did. They couldn't realize value at the pop-up, and they then had to run Instagram ads to sell the products. So don't always think about, let's just go there. Think through it. Is there value in this thing for the business? Is this something that we can afford? And we're going to get to the P&L very soon, because a lot of people think once I can bring out cash for it, I can afford it. They don't think about all the other incidental costs that come with making that decision. If you pay 3 million for the pop-up, your cost is not 3 million. Your cost is including the cost of the items you are selling, all the sales people that you will hire, the free gift you will give people at the pop-up so that they can buy from you, the time, the lost revenue, the revenue you will lose by locking up your store in Agungi to be able to go for that pop-up in Harbor Point. Those are the opportunity costs. Those are the real costs of the pop-up. So next time a request comes to you now, remember, we're thinking like CEOs. Think about these 3 questions. Does it create value? Can we afford it? Do we have cash for it? Or do we have to go and borrow? And what's the opportunity cost? If we don't do this, if we do this, what are we not going to do? Because every yes you say is a no you are saying to something else. Every yes you say to a decision, a purchase, a hire, a new initiative, a new product line, a new business, is no that you are saying to something else, right? So make sure you run this filter when next a question comes to you, and not just for yourself. Before you take anything to finance, or your boss for approval, run through these questions as well. Filter it through the lens of this, so that when you take that idea, that suggestion, when you say, oh, we need a new salesperson, that's additional costs. You are thinking about it as a leader, not just as remember, we're moving away from thinking like employees to now thinking like leaders. So what should you remember from here? Thinking like a CEO means thinking like an owner. Is how you show up. It's not until you have the title. Some of us say, I'm not the team lead now. That should not be my problem. You are going to be the team lead one day. So you should start building the muscle now, right? And it's also going to show in the quality of decisions that you make, in the quality of ideas that you bring. When someone has thought through all these things, it's obvious in the way they articulate themselves. Filter every decision through the value question, the affordability question, and the opportunity costs for the business. Come with alternatives so that, oh, this is one idea. We may do the pop-up to be able to meet up. There's a possibility that we'll be able to meet up with our revenue, when we sell at this pop-up. But if we don't sell at this pop-up, well, the other thing we can do is 1, 2, 3, right? It shows that you have thought through it. And I'm telling you, there's no leader who does not appreciate people who come with this kind of perspectives. So now let's go into the core of finance basics. Like I said earlier, a lot of people think finance is just finance. And that's why people are worried when, people are concerned when, but this, I thought we were making money. P&L, balance sheets, cash flow. There are 3 different statements, even though they are intertwined. So I'll start with the 5 words that you need to know, right? The first one is revenue. It can be called revenue, it can be called sales, it can be called income. And that is basically what we sold, what we billed for, the services we render that we billed for. And this is the starting point, right? What came into the business. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, you should be concerned. You should treat this very important, right? Because everything else that you do in the business flows from your revenue, right? The second one is expenses. And there are 2 types of expenses. There's cost of sale, which is just like the word, cost of sale, the cost of the sale we made. We are running a restaurant business. Our cost of sale is the ingredients that we use to make the food. Our cost of sale is the direct costs that impact the food that we are selling, right? The depreciation on the plates, the cups, the sales of the salespeople on the counter. Those are our cost of sales, right? That's what it costs us immediately to earn that revenue. Without that cost, we won't be able to earn the revenue. Then there's operating expenses. Those are fixed costs. Every cost that is not directly tied to what we are selling. Example, the rent of the building. Whether you sell or you don't sell, you will pay the rent. The electricity. Whether you sell or you don't sell, you will pay the electricity bill, right? The diesel costs. Whether we sell or we don't sell, we are going to pay the diesel costs, right? Those are the staff, the other staff, the delivery guys, the bike we used to deliver, the depreciation on that bike is operating expense. Whether we sell or we don't sell, we are going to pay the delivery man so long as he's in our employment. Now, your profit is your revenue minus your expenses. Again, in the next slide, I'll talk about gross profits, gross margin, and net profit, net margin. But I just want you to focus on this for now. The profit is what we sell, what we've sold, minus what it cost us to sell it, right? So what's left over? And that's why you have to get your pricing right. You cannot just put a price because of affordability. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small businesses make a mistake just because they want to sell. A lot of people think revenue is profits. No, revenue is not profits. Revenue is the cost, the revenue is the price you sell. So you see, if you don't cost your expenses very well, you will undersell yourself. You will put your revenue at a price that is lower than what it costs you to earn that revenue, right? Cash flow, very important for any business. I said cash is king. Cash is the lifeblood of any organization. So you can be making revenue and not have cash. Maybe you are selling on credit. So you will have profits, but you need cash to continue to oil the business. Cash is not the same as profits. Cash is not revenue, right? ROI, return on investment. At the end of the day, after doing this business, does it make sense? Was it worth it? Right? Was this investment worth it? This fashion designing business I just started, was it worth it? That's ROI. What you got after everything, right? That's your return on investment. So be mindful of these words. Now you know what these words mean, and then we'll move along. So the first statement, there are three statements that are important in any business. We have the profits and loss accounts, or statements, as you may call it. We have the balance sheets, and we have the cash flow statements. Those three statements, even if you are running your own business, you are an entrepreneur, you need to be mindful of these three statements. They are very important. Don't just run your business on vibes, right? We are making money, so the business is okay. I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, someone introduced me to a small business. She wanted to get a loan. She had not been keeping the proper account of her business. She was selling to ShopRite at the time, and it seemed like she was making money. So she gave me a bank statement and asked me to come up with the three statements that the bank was asking for. And by the time I was done with that exercise, which I realized that her business was loss making, but because she was not keeping proper records, she did not know that that business was loss making. She was selling to ShopRite at a lower price than what it was truly costing her. Remember what I said? A lot of small businesses think that it's just the cost of the item. They don't consider all the other operating expenses. They don't consider that in their pricing. They just think, I bought this material 10,000. I gave the tailor 5,000 to sew it, so I'm going to sell it for 30,000. What about the rents? What about the salaries? What about the Instagram ads, Facebook ads you are doing? What about your social media person that is responding to chats on Instagram, on WhatsApp? You have not added, you've not costed that into the price of your products. And that's how you can be making errors. You think that you are selling, but you are not really making profits. And we want to guard against that. So let's start from revenue. Okay, let's start from, what question does the profit and loss statement answer? This statement answers the question of, did we make money? Did we realize value over a period of time? The profit and loss statement is always over a period of time. So you can annual financial statements. You have your annual profit and loss, which is 12 months profit and loss. Some companies do quarterly so that we can measure quarter by quarter. Some companies do half year. A lot of the public companies, the GTBs of this world, the publicly listed companies on the stock exchange, they will always release quarterly. In Nigeria, it will be 6 months. Every 6 months, they will release half year financials so that we can see how they are doing, right? So that we can see how they are doing on an half year basis. So, did we realize value from the business we are doing? Did we realize value from the products we are selling? Did we realize value from the services we are rendering? If you are listening to me now, you're an entrepreneur, or you are a small business, or you are a CEO, and you don't have these 3 statements, you are wrong. And you should correct that wrong from tomorrow when you get into the office. In fact, after this session, start thinking about it. So your revenue is everything you sold or billed for. Remember, I didn't say cash you collected, because you can sell on credit, right? So everything you sold that you billed for. Cost of goods sold, or cost of sales, as we sometimes call it, is what did it cost you to deliver that product or that service. So you need to think about all the costs, not just the cost of the material that you use to make the dress. Not just the cost of for example, if you render service, you need to be able to price your time, because that's your costs. The cost of your time, you need to be able to price that. What did it cost you to deliver that? Then your gross profit is what it's left after you deduct your cost of sales or cost of goods sold from your revenue or income or sales. Those are all nomenclatures. We can call it revenue, you can call it income, you can call it sales. It means the same thing. Your gross profit is what you now have left to run the business, to be able to pay your fixed costs, your operating expenses, so salaries, right? The salary of your employees is going to come out of your gross profits. The rent of the building, of the shop, of the office space is going to come out from the gross profits. The marketing costs, the admin costs, the cost of paper, cost of coffee, cost of electricity, all those costs, all your operating costs is going to be taken out of your gross profits. And then after you deduct your operating expenses from your gross profits, what is left is your net profits. That net profit, part of it will go to tax, income tax. That net profit, part of it will be reinvested into the business. That net profit is part of it is what will go into is part of it is what will go to your investors as dividends, right? So be mindful of this as you price your products. Gross margin tells you if your pricing is right. So if your gross profit is negative, it means that maybe you need to increase your price. It means that your revenue is not covering your costs. That's what it means. But if you are not tracking it, there's no way to know. And that's why I'm giving you this assignment. When you leave here after this session, as you go into the week, think about your pricing. Think about your numbers. If you're not keeping records, you will not know. Like that's my clients that I talked about earlier. Your net margin tells you that your business is efficient. Your net profits. Both are important. Gross margin tells me if my gross margin is negative, it means that my cost exceeds my revenue. It's either I need to sell more to cover my costs, or I need to look at my pricing. Or maybe my cost is not efficient. If my net margin is negative, it means that my operating expense is over and above my gross profits. You can see how they all tie back. It's like a loop. it's like a chicken and egg situation. They all tie back. None is more important than the other. For your business to run successfully, both numbers have to be right. How does this translate to you as an employee? Start looking at your company's financials. Don't just collect your salary and go, because one day you might just find out that they are scrapping your whole department, and you'll be there wondering that I thought we were selling. Maybe something is off, right? And that's how you can be proactive, bring ideas, bring solutions, and all. In fact, when you look at these statements, it gives you context about why your boss, your leadership, why they do certain things. Because sometimes you just feel like, hey, why are we doing this one again? Maybe the answer is in these statements that you are not paying attention to. So I want you to start paying attention to it. Beyond just making sure that you are collecting your pay attention. If you're an entrepreneur, pay attention as well. If you're a CEO, even more important to pay attention. The next statement we are going to talk about is the balance sheet. And the balance sheet answers the question, what do we own? What do we owe? And what is left for the owners, the shareholders? What is left for them at the end of a particular period? Remember that I said that the profit and loss statement is over a period of time. The balance sheet is like a snapshot. It's a picture. It's like in point at a time statement. It shows us the assets. What does the business own? The cash that we've generated, the receivables, so sales that we have made that we have not collected money for, services that we have paid for that we have not enjoyed, prepayments, inventory, stock that we have in our inventory, stock that we have to sell, property, building, equipment, the laptops, the generator, all those things are assets that we own. And then we call it accounting equation. Assets equals liability plus equity. Think about it like your asset is what the owners of the business brought in to run the business, which is equity. So shareholder, ordinary shares, when you buy shares, that's equity, right? When you are a business owner starting your own business, the money you used to start the business is equity. The first money you put into the business is equity. When you go and meet people, come and invest in my business, it could be equity or debt. That's money that the owners brought, right, into the business to run the business. And then liabilities is what we owe to others. So it can be payables, services that have been rendered to us that we have not paid for. It can be advances. It can be a loan we took from the bank. It can be an overdraft. It can be anything we owe, taxes that we have not paid, services people render to us that we have not paid them for. Basically, anything that we owe to other people at a point in time is our liabilities, right? And when we say they are investing in my business or they are valuing my business, what investors typically look at is your equity, is the value of your business. What makes your equity grow is when you add, like the net profit I talked about earlier. Remember that I said that the net profit is also money that we bring into the business to continue to grow the business, right? So that profit is transferred over to equity, right? So if you are making a loss, it means that your equity is paying for it. Your equity will be eroded. And not very many investors want to invest in that kind of business. Cash flow statement is the third statement that I talked about. And this statement is so important because it shows us where our cash is going. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, where is your cash going? Your cash could be going into your operations. And remember that this is what generates revenue. So your operating cash flow is very important. At every point in time, your operating cash flow tells me whether your business is healthy. If your operating cash flow is negative, chances are that you will borrow to finance your business. Well, it could be positive and you still borrow. Maybe you want to expand your business. But your operating cash flow shows me that your business is healthy. If it is positive, it means that it shows me that your business is healthy, because it means that you are selling, you are turning over your inventory, you are paying your suppliers, you are using your cash judiciously. Your investing cash flow is money that you have spent, that you are spending or you are earning on long-term assets. So when you buy an asset for the business, if you buy, let's say, a laptop, you'll be using it for 4 years or more, right? It's not going to, the idea is that laptop will realize value because it's an asset. It will realize value for you over a period of time, right? So if you are just starting your business, you may be investing a lot. Or if you're expanding your business, your investing cash flow could be negative, right? It also shows cash that you earned from assets. So dividends and other investments that your business has made. And financing is how you are financing your business. I think that is self-explanatory, which could be loans, shares, it could be debt. You could have taken a loan from the bank. That will show in your financing. You could have issued more shares, brought in more investors. You could have gotten dividends from other investments, other financing. Maybe you financed a subsidiary, for example, right? If you paid your debt, it will also show. So at every point in time, all of these 3 buckets will either be increasing, it will be positive, or it will be negative. But your cash flow is very important. And like I said earlier, profit and cash are not the same thing. And that's why it's important for you as a business owner to make sure that you are keeping record of all this. And today with AI, it has become very easy. You can create like a 3-statement model on any of your AI tools to help you keep track of that. If you are an employee, like I said, is important. One of the ways you can add value is by knowing what is important to your organization beyond just your job. What is important to your boss? And one of the ways to know that is by paying attention to these statements, asking the right questions, knowing what is going on so that you can add value to your organization. Profit is an opinion. When you see a profitable business, it's good to be profitable, but cash is better to have cash, because when you have cash, you can react. When you have cash, you can do things. When you have cash, you can make quick decisions, right? Very important that as a business leader, an entrepreneur, or even an employee, you must take note of your cash position at all times. So like I said in the beginning, the 3 statements are interconnected. The P&L, I said, the net profit flows into equity, and the cash that we generate from the sales that we are making, the cash that we are spending from our operation, it also shows up in our cash flow statements. The balance sheet shows how, all the activity that we are doing. Your revenue can be receivable if you've not collected cash. That will show up in your balance sheet. Some of your expenses that you have incurred might not have been paid, or might have been paid in advance. When you pay your rent for 1 year, you don't just recognize everything in your P&L. You recognize it systematically. I don't want to confuse you with that, but basically the idea is that the 3 statements, they are all connected in one way or the other. And you don't have to know how to build the statements. That is for your finance department. That's for your finance team. But as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, as an employee, whatever category you fall into, you must be able to read these statements. And reading the statements starts from knowing what the statements are all about. And I hope that, with this, as I've explained in the previous slides, when next you see a financial statement, you are not intimidated. In fact, you are more interested. When you say, oh, this business is making profits, what about their cash flow? Are they generating cash from from their operations? That's why sometimes banks, organizations will release their financial statement and people will say, oh, they are making money, they made profit, but most of their cash came from financing. That means something is wrong. They may have made profit, but if all their cash, or the only cash flow state, the only cash flow bucket that is positive is financing, it means that maybe they took a loan or maybe they requested more equity. So you see what I'm saying? So knowledge of this helps you to ask better questions and helps you to be able to make better decisions, right? So if you see that your cash from operations is low, is negative, it tells you something. You need to go and look at it. You need to start asking the questions, the right question. How can we make this positive? Because I told you today that that is the measure of your business health. If your operations are nil, negative, that's something to be concerned about as a business owner or an entrepreneur. So we want to read, I've shared some of this before, but how do you, now that you know the statements, what are some of the things that you need to look out for when you are reading the statements? Number one is your cash. Very important. If you see that your cash balance is declining without any adequate, you've not made any significant investments, you've not paid dividend, so why is the cash reducing year on year? That's something to be concerned about. And it's coming from your revenue. It's coming from that top line, right? Year on year, how is our cash balance fluctuating? Very important. Number two is revenue. How is revenue and our margins moving up, right? If you notice that your margins are declining, is either your costs are too high or your revenue is too low, right? And in accounting, we usually talk about trend analysis. We don't just look at 1 year and say, start panicking. We look at the trend, right? Year on year, the last 3 years, the last 5 years is all telling a story. For those of us that invest, is also something to be mindful of in the companies that we are investing in. When we look at their financial reports, do they have cash? Is their revenue increasing? Or is their revenue doing like this? This year is up, the next year is down. That's something that we should be concerned about. When we look at the expenses, what is driving it? Which lines are moving? If, for example, I see that salaries increased and my revenue did not increase, I should be asking myself, what's their plan? What's your plan? Your expenses are increasing year on year, but your revenue is static. What's your plan? Right? For big moves, when you review financial statements, some people will say, their revenue came mostly from FX gains. That's not a sustainable stream of revenue, because in the next year, what happens is if exchange rate is now stable, that revenue stream just evaporates, right? Or maybe they sold an asset and they received income from sale of assets, that's not a sustainable income stream because it's only going to be one-off. Or you see like there's a spike in revenue. The question you should be asking is, what is causing it? Right? What's the quality of the revenue? If it's a one-off, it means that next year it might not be there. If it's a recurring revenue, okay, how can we sustain this? What did we do that made us arrive at this revenue? If you're a business owner, okay, when we run ads on Fridays, our revenue spikes. There was a clip that I saw recently there was an interview with I think the guy is the CEO of Chowdeck, and he was saying that first week, after salary week, people are ordering turkey, people are ordering chicken, people are ordering, their revenue spikes. But by the time they are on third week, their revenue declines. That's someone that has studied their numbers. And so what they can do is now what can they do in that third week to accelerate revenue? They can decide to give discounts to capture some revenue. What can they do in the first week? They can decide, now that people have money, come up with a bundled product. Buy a plate of rice. If you buy certain amounts, they add something to it so that people have money now. Let's maximize. Also, we need to be able to read our budgets. And I'm going to talk about it shortly. Are we ahead or are we behind budgets? If we are behind budgets, it's not just to say we are behind budget. What can we do to accelerate? And that's why you see some organizations running campaigns in December. In December, they go all out because that's Q4 and they are trying to meet up their numbers. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business person, a business leader, and you are watching this, these are things that you need to be mindful of. So we're not just saying know the statements for just knowing sake. We are saying that you should be able to read these statements so that you can make better decisions, right? And this framework is, when you're thinking about your budget or explaining your budget to your boss, your budget to actual numbers, you should be able to have all these questions, all the answers to these questions at your fingertip. So if we're thinking like CEOs, right? Cash balance, I've said it, I don't want to overflog it. Revenue, where are we versus where we said we're going to be? Gross margin, are we covering our costs? And not just covering our costs. Remember what I said, that all your other operational expenses will come out from your gross margin. So your gross margin, if your gross margin is too thin, you may have to borrow, and that's additional cost to the business. Your overdue receivables is not enough to sell and just sell. You need to be able to collect money from from the people you have sold to, because that impacts what? It impacts your cash flow, right? Your net cash flow, how is money moving in and out across the three buckets? The operations buckets, the financing buckets, and the investment buckets. You might need to defer some investments because your operational buckets is negative. But if you don't know how to read these things, again, like I said, it impacts on the kind of decisions that you are able to make as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, or even as a professional. So what should you remember from here? Cash flow. Cash is king. Profits, revenue, expenses, return on equity, return on investment. Those are 5 words that you should always have at your fingertips when you are bringing in a proposal or an idea to your boss to finance. Think about these things. How are we going to make cash from it? Is it going to be profitable for the business? How are we going to generate revenue? What are the expenses that are tied to this idea or to this proposal? What will be our return on investment at the end of the day? The three statements, P&L, balance sheets, cash flow, they all tell one story about a business, right? But those stories are from different angles. Remember, the P&L is, what are we generating? The value that we're generating for the business over a period of time. The balance sheet is our snapshot that shows us what we own, what we owe, and how we are making money for the owners of the business. And the cash flow shows us how we are spending money. Where is our money going as an organization, right? And like I said, it tells you from the cash flow statement, you can tell what an organization is doing. If I see a cash flow statement where money is coming from financing and is going out from investment, I'm like, this business might be in its growth stage. So the concern, or rather the takeaway, is not to be worried, but to understand what the numbers are telling you so that you can make the right decision at the right time. And then I talked about the 5 minutes framework and how that is important as we make decisions, across our organization, whether as a business owner, whether as an entrepreneur, or even an employee. You have an idea, think about it. Use these frameworks to critique your idea before bringing it forward, so that even when you come forward with your idea, the questions people are going to ask you, you already have the answers. So you're not saying, oh, let me go back and check, right? And I think that this even works even for our personal finances as well, depending on how we think about it, right? But that framework is very important when you're making any business decision that has to do with your finances. So now that we understand that finance is not just the business of finance, is everybody's business. Now that we understand how to, the CEO mindsets, and we now understand the three statements that are important to any organization. How do we make better decisions with all of this knowledge that we have, either in our businesses or, as a business leader, or even as an employee? How do we make the right decisions? How does a leader who is financially savvy, how do they think through decisions? And that's what we're going to go through in the next couple of slides. So I've talked about the gross margin, right? Which is your gross profits divided by your revenue. And the story that tells is the core product priced right. If our revenue cannot cover our costs, it means that we're going to have a negative gross margin. So when you look at your business and you look at your gross margin, what you should be thinking is, how are we, do we need to raise price? Because if your costs is higher than your revenue, than what you are able to sell the product for, then there's a problem. It means that essentially, like I said earlier, the rest of your business is in problem. The rest of your costs is in problem. So sometimes when businesses are not able to pay salaries, right? Or they are not able to do certain things, the issue might be the revenue is too low, right? Or the cost is too high, right? So you need to always be looking at that, especially in a volatile environment like Nigeria. It's dangerous as a business person not to be aware of what your cost of sale is and what your gross margin is. You don't want to be selling a product at a price that is lower than what is costing you to produce that product or to render that service. I remember when I had a master class recently, and it was my first ever master class. And even though I'm a finance person, I just thought, well, to run a master class, what do I need? The knowledge is coming from my head. I'm going to do the slides. I'm going to do the materials and everything that I need to run the master class. And I just left it in my head until I had to start paying for things. I realized that running a master class is not just the knowledge in my head. I need to be able to package the knowledge. So I needed to pay for, I was running the master class on Zoom. I needed to pay for Zoom Premium so that after 30 minutes or 45 minutes that you have on the free version, the thing doesn't yank me out, doesn't yank me off. I needed to pay the person who designed all my workbooks. I needed someone to manage the chat room as I'm talking. By the time I added all those costs, I realized that the price that I put my master class was too cheap. In my own head, I was just thinking about, will someone pay for this master class at this price? Without thinking about all the costs that I would have to incur on that master class. So if you are watching this now, these things cost a lot of money. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, like I said before, we're just always focused on the cash coming in. Even some business owners, you need to be able to think about the whole costs of the products that you are selling. Write it down so that you are not missing anything, right? For me, at the end of the day, I discovered that my master class was not properly priced. Even though in my mind, the price I put it at was, I felt like maybe it's too high. So if I'm going to run my next master class, I will price it accordingly, because now I know that there are many costs involved. The person who edited the videos, the person who did the flyers, I didn't think about all that. The net margin is what is now left. The net profit is what is left after you have taken out your costs and your operational expenses. So it tells us if the business is efficient. So for some business people, the rent you are paying, the revenue, the product that you are selling is not priced for the rent that you are paying. Your business, you have a store in Ikoyi, you may need to rethink your prices, or you may need to downsize, maybe move to Agungi or Logolo or Ikate, or maybe you don't even need a store, because any margin any net profits any gross profits you make is what you will use to settle all those other costs, right? So gross margin problems might mean you have to fix your pricing or your cost of sale, the cost of delivering. I don't mean delivery cost as in Korea. I mean the cost of delivering that product, that service. Maybe the cost is too high and there's some efficiencies you can realize there. Net margin problems means that your operations are not efficient or your overheads are too high. Maybe instead of generator, you need to start thinking about solar as a business owner, because diesel cost is killing your business. You see what I mean? Maybe you don't need 4 staff. Maybe your business cannot handle having 4 employees. Maybe you need 2, and you need to leverage technology to do you need to automate certain things so that you can have a healthier net margin and your business can be more efficient, right? So if your net margin, if you see your net margin is negative, you need to look at your overheads, your operational costs, right? Maybe your cost is too high for your business, the business that you are running, or maybe you need to be more efficient. The next thing to think about in terms of metrics is liquidity. Can the business survive its own growth? Working capital, very important. Very important. The idea is that you're going to be able to pay your liabilities. Your short-term liabilities is what we call current liabilities, right? From your current assets. So if you have cash tied down, people that have not paid you, it's going to affect your ability to pay your suppliers as a business, right? Cash conversion cycle, very important. Do you know that the more days you have your inventory in your warehouse and it's not turning to sales, that's cash that you have tied down, right? So your days of your inventory turnover, days inventory means the amount of days it takes you to turn your inventory into cash. The faster, the shorter the days, the better for you, right? And when you turn that inventory into sales, you need to be able to collect your money quickly. The shorter your days receivable, the faster you are able to recycle your cash. Because the cash when you sell products to people, you get cash. That cash is what you use to replenish, and that cash is also what you use to pay your suppliers. So there are times that you find businesses, they have inventory tied down, they have receivables, people who are owing, but they have suppliers they need to pay. And so they have to sometimes go and borrow. That's additional cost to the business. Remember your net margin, your net profit that I talked about. So you see how everything works together. The faster you can quickly convert your inventory to sales, and you can get the people that you are selling to pay you, the faster you can also pay your own suppliers. So you want to make sure that your cash conversion cycle is as short as possible. The longer your cash conversion cycle, the more cash you are tying down, because it means that your inventory is not turning into cash, into revenue very quickly. People are not buying, and that's money you have tied down. And remember that you are paying for that, you are paying for the space, you are paying for the warehouse, you are paying someone's salary. So it's very important that you are able to achieve a shorter cash conversion cycle. This is not just a problem for finance, it's everybody. A growing profitable business can fail if your cash conversion cycle is too long. If it's taking you 60 days to turn cash around, there's no how you won't borrow, because you need to pay salaries every 30 days, right? And that money needs to come from the inventory you've tied down, needs to be sold, and the people you sold to need to be able to pay you money for you to be able to pay, to settle your payables. Every extra day of customer credits or unsold inventory is cash that you have tied down. It's cash that could be growing your business, that can be used elsewhere. So we need to invest in ensuring that we have a short cycle. And like I said, this is not just the business of finance. And this is where, if you are selling, if you're a salesperson, it's not just to sell. Cash must come in within the credit terms that we've agreed. Because guess what? Our suppliers are also waiting for them to get paid from that same cash. So if you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner, maybe the reason why your business keeps borrowing to pay salaries, you keep borrowing to buy inventory, is because you're not converting your inventory quickly into sales, or you are allowing people hold your money for too long. You just want to sell. Salespeople just want to sell and go. No, we need to make sure that the money comes in within the stipulated, agreed credit terms that we have with our customers. I've talked about this. I'll just brief on it a little bit. We talked about ROI and why that is an important metrics to track, right? every decision we make as a business, even as an individual in your career, there's ROI involved in every decision that we make as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as employees. What's the return, right, that we are going to earn from this business? And that's why some people will put their money in money markets, some people will put their money in stock markets, because you are looking at the risk and the return that you are incurring. And by when? What's the break-even point? This is important for entrepreneurs and business owners, right? Whatever item, whatever price we are putting to a product or a service must be able to, we should not be making a loss. If anything, the price should be equal to our variable and fixed cost. And I've talked about that. Variable cost directly tied to whatever it is you're selling. Fixed costs that you would incur whether or not you sell, that are fixed to the business, If you think about a hotel, whether they fill up their rooms or they don't fill up their rooms, they must turn on the generator. There must be lights. There must be chef. They must cook. You see, there must be someone at the front desk. Even if the hotel is empty, those are their fixed costs, right? Is this better than the next best option, right? If we don't go in this direction, are there other directions that we can go? If we want to take this direction as a professional in your own personal finance, if I put my money in piggy vests, I don't want to mention companies. If I put my money in money markets, I'm going to have to wait till a certain time before I can get my money back. If I have an investment or something I need to do, maybe I need to move apartments, you need to always be thinking about opportunity costs. Is there any other use for that money? Am I better off putting the money in the stock market? If I put it in the stock market, why am I there? Is it for capital appreciation or is it for dividend payments? If I put it in money market, what's the return I will get, right? You need to always weigh your decisions, right? Weigh your decisions, your money decisions, whether as an entrepreneur, whether as a business person. You need to ensure that when you are making decisions, it passes through, this 3 gates model. Now, let's talk about reading a budget. Whether it's your personal budget, your business budget, your departmental budget, right? It's not just to see numbers moving up and down, but to ask the right questions. And here is where I would like to say that the fact that your budget, your variance is positive does not mean that all is going well. Remember what I said earlier. I said, for example, if our actual revenue is higher than our budgeted revenue, does that mean all is going well? No. Maybe we ran a campaign and that's what made our revenue higher than usual in this past month, right? Or revenue, your actual is lower than your budgeted. It's not just that, hey, we are not selling. You want to check what the driver is. Very important. What is the driver? What happened that we are not selling? Sometimes you will find there's an operational issue, but you need to be able to ask the right questions. And even when there's a positive variance, you still need to be able to ask the right question. Oh, revenue this month is higher than what we budgeted. What happened? Oh, we ran a campaign. Okay. Maybe we need to run this campaign. But what's it costing us? You understand? Marketing spend. We spent lower than budget. What happened? It's not always that someone didn't do something right. It could be that, oh, we were more efficient. We used a new influencer that is blowing up on TikTok instead of the established influencers we've always used before, right? And how did that add up to the bottom line? staff costs. So also be mindful of materiality, right? In this case, in the example I have, staff cost was 2%. 2% in a small business is not the same as 2% in a multinational. In a multinational, there is 2%. Their 2% can be 2 billion and it doesn't matter to them. In a small business, your 2% can be 2 million and it matters to you. So don't just look at variances for the sake of variances. You need to be able to ask the right questions, and you need to be able to interpret what that variance is telling you. That variance is pointing you to a decision that needs to be made. That variance is pointing you to something you need to check. Very important to do this variance analysis, even in your own personal finance, whether as a business person, your departmental budgets. I think I've emphasized why. It also makes you, picking back to what Mr. Oluwole said, it also positions you as someone who knows what they are doing, someone who cares beyond just the call of their own duty. So next time you are making a business, when you need to make a business case, maybe you have an idea, a new project you are introducing, an asset that you want us to purchase, or something, anything, you need to be able to articulate all of this and give an answer. More often than not, me as finance, I will ask you, so this investment you want us to make, how is it going to add to our top line? What are we expecting? What are we expecting? Okay, if we don't do anything, what will happen? Does it mean we will not be able to close the sale? Right? What's okay? We want discount, but this is our costs. We cannot go beyond our costs. And you need cash. How are we going to fund it? Is this something we included in the budget at the beginning of the year? If we didn't include it in the budget, what can we move? You need to be able to articulate that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, when you make decisions, so that you don't make the wrong decisions for your business just because it is trendy. Oh, everybody is doing this, in Lagos, in Nigeria, where things are always changing. Today, they are bringing different things in a campaign. You are doing a training. Oh, it's not just okay to serve rice and small chops. We need to give them pepper soup. We need to do a buffet. Can the training cost cover that? Do you understand? So that we don't go and put ourselves in unnecessary problem, not just for us, for our organizations, for our businesses, right? How do we fund it? Very important questions that you need to answer when next you carry a business case to finance, because that positions you as an owner. Remember what I said in the beginning, wearing an owner's cap. Very important. So we are gradually wrapping up. I just wanted to mention some of this for entrepreneurs, some of the additional things that you need to be mindful of. Customer acquisition costs, right? CAC is the total cost to win one customer. You see businesses, especially new businesses, we are coming into the market with a new business, a new product, and we offer all the discounts in the world. This is very crucial, especially for startups. You give discounts, right? Oh, when you buy one drink, we'll add another one for you. But that person will just buy because of that one drink, and you've not made any revenue from them. You have to be thinking about your customer acquisition cost. If you're in marketing, you need to be thinking about your customer acquisition cost. Every discount you give is a cost. Every freebie you give is a cost, right? It's so important, right? Customer lifetime value. How much money can you expect from this customer over the period of when they are going to use your products. And that's why it's important that you are able to only bring what you can sustain. You don't want to always have to run ads or give discounts or freebies to get customers. How can you run your business in such a way that you don't have to repeatedly do that? Because you are accumulating costs, and you want to make sure that for every cost you spend in acquiring a customer, you can make times 3 from them. You can make 3 times. Let's say you spend 1,000 naira from a customer, for a customer, to acquire a customer, to get a customer to use your products or your service. You want to be able to make at least 3,000 naira in profits, not revenue. You want to be able to make at least 3,000 naira in profits from that customer. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And that's why we see a lot of startups, a lot of fintechs died. Their business is no more because the focus was just acquire customers. They want to be able to say 20 million people downloaded our app. But those 20 million people, they downloaded your app, they used the app for the first free 5 days, and then they fell off. You didn't make any money, but you are losing money by them using your app. Per unit profitability, how does each sale contribute to fixed costs? I've talked about this multiple times. It's important that, for whenever you are pricing your product, you are able to cover your costs, the cost per item, and not just your variable costs. Your fixed costs are also very important. So this is an example of an exercise that I'm going to be leaving you with as we round up this session. Your manager, as a manager, you want to hire 2 salespeople. Let's say you are paying them $140,000 per year, all total cost to company, and each salesperson is going to close about 250K in annual revenue at 35% gross margin. If we pass this decision through our ROI model, right, which is, if I go back, what's the return they are going to bring and by when? Each person is going to bring in 250K in annual revenue, but only at 35% gross margin, right? That 35% gross margin, if we do 35% by 250K, it does not even cover their salary, right? So is that a right decision? You are hiring someone 140K, you're going to pay them 140K. It's going to cost your business 140K, but they are only going to bring 250K in revenue. And that 250K, you are only going to make 35% gross margin. It may not be an effective decision, except there's something else. So the alternative is to say, how else can we get this 250K revenue without spending this much? Can we bring in an intern and then they ramp up? That's how to make. Those are some of the decisions we come across. When you say, oh, we need an extra staff in our department, think through this lens as a business leader, right? So what should you remember here? What your margins are telling you. Like I said, your gross margin is telling you if your pricing is healthy. Your net margin is telling you if your operations are healthy. I also talked about the importance of managing your working capital. Your current assets should be able to repay your current liabilities. In fact, in industry, we say it should be able to repay it 2 times. So your current asset should be ratio 2 and your current liability should be ratio 1. that we can pay our current liability 2 times. And your cash conversion cycle should be as short as possible. Otherwise, your company's growth, your organization's growth might not be sustainable. We also talked about the ROI decision model and how to pass decisions through this model before we say yes. You want to buy a new asset, you want to hire a new staff, you want to introduce a new product, it needs to pass through this lens. We talked about the importance of having our variance reports. So it's not enough to just prepare the statements. You want to compare it against what you planned, and you want to see what happened, right? You want to ask questions. You know, you don't just want to focus on the numbers, you want to dig deep, and you want to ask, you want to find out why certain things happened the way they did. I'm going to rush through this very quickly because I'm mindful of our time. Mr. Oluwole Dada has done an amazing job on this, right? So I'm not going to flog it too much, right? 3 levers that multiply a leader's impact. Delegation, right? Delegates. And don't just delegate for the sake of delegating, right? Build a system around it. Build a system around it. If you're an entrepreneur, Monday morning or Friday afternoon, whatever the case may be, once a month, whatever suits your business, look at your numbers. Let your people know that, madam is going to ask, or guy is going to ask. We are going to spend time talking about the numbers so that they're all carried along, right? Build systems, build repeatable systems that the business can follow in your absence. Grow other people's judgments. It's not just for you to be the sole person doing everything. You are an entrepreneur, you are the owner of your business, you are the CEO, you are the owner of your company. Grow other people's judgments, right? Have a template that people can use to make decisions. People can use to think the way you think. Create frameworks around how you think, right? In your departments, create frameworks around how people come to you for one thing or the other. Oh, we want to run a campaign. Create a framework that they can pass all decisions through, so that when you take it to finance, it's an easy conversation. Or when you take it to the leadership of the organization, it's an easy decision to make because you've thought through it. It's not that when they now ask you, you now be asking, sorry, let's go back and check. Let's go back and rework, right? Very important. The bottlenecks in most growing teams is not the leader's judgments. It's the fact that it's only the leader that sees from that lens. But you want to create something that everybody, a blueprint that everyone in your team can follow, whether it comes to financial decision making or any other kind of decision making. Create a second brain that everybody else can wear when they want to make a decision, so that even when you are not there as a leader, as a team leader, an entrepreneur, business can go on without you being there, because everybody already knows this is how we do it, right? You're thinking like a CEO in our businesses. Check your cash balance, check your vitals, check your bank balance, check your account, check your margins. There will be no margins to check if you're not keeping records. You know, flag what is outside the threshold. Like I said, not every number requires your inputs. So you want to focus your attention on what is important. And then delegate. Let people go and think about, let them go and think about the reason why the things are the way they are. Let them come up with the solution. Don't always be the one coming up with the solution for them. Let them go and think through this solution. This is something that I want you to be able to use from tomorrow when you get to work, when you start thinking about decision making within your team, within your organization, within your business. You want to think through this lens. So to recap, you want to make sure that the judgments in your organization, you are able to delegate that to other people so that they can think like you, right? You want to make sure that you have a rhythm, a weekly habit. Yours could be weekly, it could be bi-weekly, it could be monthly, whatever it is that your business requires. I would leave you to create that routine for your business that your teams can follow, going forward. So the leaders who multiply their impact, they are not just building tools and building teams. They are building people that can work even when they are not in the room. And I've said this, if you're an entrepreneur or you're a founder or a CEO, your cash runway, very important. Your cash conversion cycle, very important. If you're a professional, you're thinking about, moving on, growing within the organization, every request you bring forward, pass it through the business case templates that we discussed. If you're a mid-level professional, don't just stop at your job. Look at your P&L, look at your department's P&L, and ask questions, ask your leaders questions. And for everyone, I'm sure you fall within this bracket in one way or the other. Every decision you make going forward as you leave this session, filter it with that CEO cap that you're wearing. So in closing, at the end of the day, the people who grow within an organization, two people can be in the same department doing the same job, right? But having different outcomes. It's not because, not for any reason, but just the judgment calls they make, the way they think differently. The aim today has been to help you tweak your mind, and to help you tweak your mind in such a way that you start thinking as an owner, because you may not own your business today, but these lessons are lessons that you can carry forward even when you own your own business. And you may not own your business anyhow, but we can be entrepreneurs even within our organizations, and that's what stands us out. So thank you so much for this session. Apologies, I went over time by a few minutes. I'll just pause here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so insightful and rich. And I believe a lot of people have gotten value. Thank you for your time. You really went in depth to explain. And I believe that if you are a non-finance person right now, you should be able to, at least in a simple way, know what a financial statement is talking about, know your revenue, know the difference between cash and your assets, know your return on investment, know your profits, and so many other things that we have mentioned or she has mentioned today. Thank you once again. And this is where we are going to be wrapping this session up. Please, you can follow Aramide on LinkedIn. Just like her name appears on the screen, Aramide Balogun. You will find her on LinkedIn. Follow her for more insightful content around finance, especially if you are new to the finance game. And like she has said, finance is the responsibility of everybody. As a normal human being, you should understand finance, basic finance.
Yes.
You want to invest, you want to understand what are you investing in. You want to be able to interpret the financial statement of companies and organizations you want to put your money in. You want to be able to understand the figures in your business. A lot of people are not making profits today, but in their eyes, they think they are making profits. And before you know it, the business is going to shut down. So
Yes.
that is all for today. You can always come back to the replay. Join this session. Is the same link you need to click on to watch the replay. And I think I will recommend that everybody go back to watch the replay, because I know most times we are tired. We've been in church since morning. A lot of people came back very late and they just jump on this. So sometimes your head is not capturing everything. You might need to go back to it. I will recommend you go back in the night when everyone's, maybe not today, of course, maybe not today, maybe some other time, but just take time to go back and revisit this session. Thank you so much, Aramide, and we wish you a wonderful week. Thank you so much for impacting our community. We look forward to working with you some other time. So, moving you from the screen now. So, everyone, thank you for joining. And like I said, we believe that you've got value. So if you can get this for free, imagine what you're going to be getting if you register for our mini MBA program. That program is going to break everything that we did under these 3 hours. Is going to break it down into pieces for you within 14 weeks. So if you're contemplating on doing an MBA program, you can just do this mini MBA for now. It is something you can also use to update your credentials at office. It's something you can use to apply for jobs. It is valid. We don't do wishy-washy here. We do valid, we do recognized, we do globally accepted. Okay, so the session for the mini MBA program is going to start on the 12th of September. Application will close by the 30th of August. Application will close by the 30th of August, but the classes will commence 12th of September, and we're going to finish by December. And that's going to be the only cohort we are going to have this year. The next one will be March 2027. The next one will start March 2027. So if you are contemplating on jumping on this one, this is your opportunity. I mentioned that if you wait till the end of the call, you are going to get a gift. And the gift is that you are going to be getting 50% discounts. Is it discount now? Tuition waiver for your mini MBA. So if you are registering for the mini MBA program, the link has been dropped in the WhatsApp group. The link has been dropped in the WhatsApp group. We are going to circulate this around other groups. If you register through the link this between now and the 30th of August, you are going to be getting 50% off your fee. You are going to be getting 50% off your fee. So what it means is that if you are registering for the professional tier, which is 500,750, you are going to be paying just 250,000 naira. 50% will be off it. Then if you are registering for the executive tier, which is 950,000, you are going to be paying 475,000. You can just go to our website. The application link has been dropped. Just go to our website and check all the information there. Everything is there. Frequently asked questions, every information you need is on our website. Thank you once again, and do have a wonderful night rest. We wish everyone a happy new week in advance. Bye.